Chapter 465. Although Sikong Sheng lost to Edict Princely Shaoyan, he is not simple either. He actually hid the evil will. He should have comprehended it from the evil king, right? Recovering from his thoughts, Tua Baku said to Yichen. Yichen nodded. There were many Daos that had separated from the martial Dao, such as the Sword Dao, Demonic Dao, Blade Dao, and naturally, the Evil Dao. The Evil Dao's position was even higher than the Blade Dao, and was equivalent to the Sword Dao and Demonic Dao. The evil will it had evolved from was somewhat similar to the Demonic Dao, but it was a bit more gentle, not as unbridled, cruel, and cold-blooded. The fact that Sikong Sheng could comprehend the evil will was enough to prove his comprehension ability. However, compared to the Edict Prince, he was still a bit too naive. The latter had become famous before anyone here. Even with the evil will, he couldn't even withstand a single blow. How could this so-called Edict Prince be so powerful? The 6th and 7th Knights exchange a glance. In the Evil King Pavilion, only the 1st and 4th Knights, Sikong Sheng, had comprehended the evil will. The others didn't. This was also the reason why the Evil King valued Sikong Sheng so much. With the evil will, even if Sikong Sheng didn't condense a true evil soul, his offensive power would still surpass the low-grade martial spirit. However, he still couldn't withstand a single blow. Edict Princely Shaoyan was too frightening. The battle between Edict Prince and Sikong Sheng had caused too much of a commotion, to the point that the battles of the fake dragon level didn't attract much attention. Only when the battle of the quasi-dragon level began did some people calm down. If the first 2 days of the tea gathering were the appetizers, then the 3rd day would be the main meal. The participants of the battle were all experts above the fake dragon level. Right now, it was Gold Sand Region's Luo Shan and Floating Light Region's Lu Han. Lu Han was very powerful, but Luo Shan was even more powerful. After 100 moves, she defeated Lu Han. After that, it was the second battle between Tobaku and Mo Xiang. In this battle, Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan had said that no lives could be lost. If they could stop in time, it would be best if they could. If they still couldn't decide the winner, then it would still be a draw. Once the battle had begun, Tuo Baku had released his huge lizard shadow, while Mo Xiang's body started to burn with a blue chi flow. The two were ready to use all of their power right from the beginning. Tuo Baku's giant lizard shadow was good at both offense and defense, without any weakness. Mo Xiang's speed, defense, and attack had been doubled. His battling power was horrifying, and he was more focused on attacking. But eventually, Tuo Baku lost. He had not lost in terms of power, but in terms of endurance. The huge lizard shadow consumed a lot of Jin Yuan. After 1,000 attacks, the Jin Yuan inside his body had been completely emptied. Of course, Mo Xiang was not any better. After beating Tuo Baku, he was soaked in sweat, and his legs had even gone soft. Then, it was time for Lu Han's battle. He was not wounded that badly, and Tuo Baku and Mo Xiang had been battling for a long time, which gave him plenty of time to recover. Plus, as a true dragon-level martial genius, the pellets provided by the martial institutions were not normal and could not be bought even with spirit stones. This was also the reason why everyone could recover so fast during the tea gathering. Lu Han's opponent was Murong Qingqing. As for Sikong Sheng, he had not fully recovered yet. Murong Qingqing's attacking power was not that powerful, which was below average among the true dragon-level warriors. On the other hand, Lu Han's defense was very powerful. Even if it was not number 1, it would be number 2. Therefore, this battle was extremely tough, and no one could do anything to the other. Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan could only announce it as a draw. Chu Zhongtian, I have not seen you make a move yet. I would like to see it for myself. After Sikong Sheng challenged the Edict Princely Shaoyan, another bomb was dropped on the stage. Yichen was going to challenge the Astral Spirit's son, Chu Zhongtian. Wearing blue robes and with a long sword on his waist, Yichen stood on the stage and looked at the Astral Spirit's son, Chu Zhongtian. Chu Zhongtian frowned slightly, seeming to be unhappy as he said lightly, "You better back off. There is no need for a battle between you and me." "Eh, Why doesn't the astral spirit sun accept the challenge? Earlier, Luo Shan challenged Princess Jing, and Sikong Sheng challenged the Edict Prince, Li Xiaoyan. Both of them accepted the challenge. Haven't you seen it? The astral spirit sun thinks that Yi Chun is not his opponent, and he doesn't want to fight. Look at his face. Those with good eyesight were able to see the blood on the first prick. This is a bit too much. Even if Yi Chun is not as powerful as him, there is no need for him to not accept the challenge. The astral spirit sun has always been like this. He is arrogant and does whatever he wants. But he does have the right to be arrogant. I wonder how Yi Chun is going to deal with this. His dual sword style should not be underestimated. He might have a chance. Yi Chun was not angry. He raised his eyebrows and said, "You don't dare to accept the challenge?" Picking up the teacup and taking a sip, Chu Zhongtian lowered his eyes. "You still don't understand what I'm saying? You are not my opponent. The so-called dual sword style is nothing in front of me. So, I don't need to waste my time on you." Yi Chun smiled, but there was a hint of weirdness in his smile. Seeming to feel that Chu Zhongtian had spoken, Luo Shan stood up. "Yi Chun, since my head disciple doesn't want to fight, why don't I spar with you for a bit?" "No need. He will come out." "Shoo." If the opponent did not want to come out, then he would fight him. Taking out the thunder sword, Yi Chun threw out a sky thunder cut toward the pavilion where the astral spirit sun was. This sky thunder cut was definitely not ordinary, because it contained a peak-level sword spirit sword intent, which was much more powerful than the one he had used against Emosiang. Luo Shan had not expected that Yi Chun would attack just like that. Her eyebrows creased as she tried to defend against the sword light with a serious expression. However, her power was only at the same level as Emosiang's. How could she possibly defend against this sky thundercut? A purple light flashed as her whole body was blown away, and the pavilion was about to be cut into two. Swoosh! The sword light disappeared as Chu Zhongtian had shattered it with a single punch. After throwing out this punch, Chu Zhongtian slowly stood up. As he stood up, the space within a radius of tens of meters, including the pavilion, seemed to be shaking, as if it could not withstand the pressure of Chu Zhongtian's aura. "Your power is indeed not bad, but my current level is still too early for you." Pausing for a while, Chu Zhongtian continued, "Since you insist on fighting with me, I will fulfill your wish. Let me warn you first, this battle will be very fast. Don't hold any hope." Although Chu Zhongtian's attitude was arrogant, it had undoubtedly ignited the passion of everyone present, including Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan and Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan. They all attached great importance to this battle, because they could vaguely see the astral spirit sun's power. As long as you're willing to fight, it's fine. As for the result, you don't need to worry about it, because you will find that the result is not within your expectations. Yi Chun's voice was very calm. Chu Zhongtian stared at Yi Chun, the corner of his mouth twitching. "In the past year, I fought with 13 spirit realm experts. Among them, I've killed 2, defeated 7, and fought 4 to a draw. Among them, there was a swordsman." While speaking, Chu Zhongtian took out his weapon, a dark red mace with many sections connected to each other. It was very heavy, with a smooth tip. Everyone present could not suppress their astonishment. They all knew that the astral spirit sun had fought with spirit realm experts, but no one knew that he had fought with as many as 13, and 2 of them had died in his hands. Moreover, he had defeated 7. This result was enough to shock the world. Looking at Yi Chun, Chu Zhongtian said, "Against you, 60% of my power is enough." While speaking, the mace in his hand ignited a dark red air current that was like a mist. As soon as it came in contact with the air, a large area immediately turned into a vacuum. Yi Chun squinted his eyes. Although the astral spirit sun was arrogant, his strength was not to be underestimated. The true Yuan Qi that was emitted had burned the air, which meant that the opponent's true Yuan had reached an unimaginable level. At least, he had never seen anyone's true Yuan that could directly evaporate the air, not to mention the true Yuan Qi that was emitted. Just a strand of true Yuan Qi was already so frightening. Then what about true Yuan? It should be at least several times stronger than true Yuan Qi. Take my mace first. From afar, Chu Zhongtian waved his mace. A dark red shadow tore through the sky, carrying a mountain-shattering momentum as it attacked toward Yichun. What harm is there in taking your mace? Yichun raised the thunder sword and slashed out. Rumble. It was just a normal exchange between the two, but the shockwave created was far more powerful than any battle between quasi-true Dragon Realm experts. Countless true Yuan barriers were shattered. Not bad, barely enough to pique my interest. No one saw how Chu Zhongtian moved. By the time his voice arrived, he had already arrived in front of Yichun and attacked 46 times. Each attack was extremely powerful, as if there was a mountain compressed within. What was more frightening was that the person holding the mace was even more powerful than a mountain. Boom, 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 boom. Shockwaves suddenly exploded on the open field. Within the shockwaves, mace shadows flew everywhere and sword chi crisscrossed. If not for the Thunder Pattern Iron's restriction power protecting it, it would have been torn apart countless times already. Nearly 400 people opened their eyes wide, wanting to see the exchange between the two clearly. However, those who could clearly see the battle could be counted on one hand. The rest of the people were in a daze and could not see anything clearly. Fuck, what kind of speed is this? What kind of attacking power is this? Just the shockwave alone is enough to tear me into pieces. It's like fighting in a superstorm. The more they could not see clearly, the more excited they became. Because they could not see clearly, it meant how terrifying the battle between the two was. It was a battle beyond their imagination. They admired Yichun from the bottom of their hearts for being able to last this long. But at the same time, they could not help but gasp at Astral Spirit Sun's power. This was 60% of his power, and if he were to use all of it, it would be enough to turn the sky upside down. In the center of the expanding shockwaves, Yichun slashed Chu Zhongtian's shadow into pieces. His expression did not change as he turned around to defend against the real attack. Pong! The sword and the talisman clashed. The blue sword chi and the dark red talisman shadow clashed together, creating a spiral-shaped explosion. 90% of the Zhenyuan barrier was shattered instantly, and a lot of people puked out blood. They were blown out of the stage, their faces pale. Let's go to the sky. Yichun shot up into the sky. Chapter 466. Chu Zhongtian sneered and chased after him with his dark red rapier. The two, one in front and one behind, were like two beams of aurora, one blue and one red. Up in the sky, the two of them were no longer restrained. Both of them raised their speed to a new height. Two beams of aurora kept clashing against each other, and shockwaves rippled out from their collisions. The blue and red shockwaves formed a marvelous sight in the sky above Thunder City. Swish! After another clash, the two retreated several hundred meters away from each other. I admit that your strength is a bit higher than I had imagined. The two's exchange just now was too fast, and it was purely a battle of speed. Therefore, Chu Zhongtian did not use any of his powerful moves. Yichun glanced at the dark red rapier in Chu Zhongtian's hand and said indifferently, "This is just the beginning. Actually, you were testing my strength, and I was also testing yours. Without sufficient strength, I might not be able to use my full strength." Although the two's tone was not high, under the amplification of Zhenyuan, it could be heard dozens of li away. Hearing Yichun's reply, everyone was dumbfounded. Earlier, Astral Spirit Sun had said that Yichun was not worthy of exchanging pointers with him, and that he could defeat him with only 60% of his strength. Who would have thought that Yichun also had the same thought, thinking that Astral Spirit Sun would not use his full strength if he did not display his strength? My God, is this really Yichun's first time participating in the tea gathering? Why do I feel that he is treating himself as a true dragon-level expert? Experts all have the bearing of an expert. If they can save some strength, they will. Yichun's words made the spectators within dozens of li excited. They knew that this exchange would not be simple. Chu Zhongtian's expression turned slightly cold. Be careful of your tongue being cut by the wind. It won't be too late to talk after receiving one of my moves. I'll accompany you to the end. The sword intent emitted from Yichun's body seemed to have materialized. The two looked at each other from a distance. Their majestic auras clashed, causing hurricanes to blow up in the sky and clouds to gather and disperse. Almost at the same time, the two moved, charging straight at each other. Boom! The two objects approached each other at an extreme speed. The space between them could not bear the pressure and exploded. Fragmentation mace. On the way, the dark red mace in Chu Zhongtian's hand became brighter and brighter. Specks of dust floated around the mace. These specks of dust flickered with a dreamy light from time to time, as if they were specks of dust compressed from gems. Turning the macroscopic into the microscopic, what a profound technique! Amidst the extreme speed, Yi Chun felt as if time had stopped. He looked at the treasured mace in Chu Zhongtian's hand and the dreamy dust surrounding it. He knew that this move was definitely not ordinary, and it probably had a different kind of destructive power. Destruction, sword intent, sky, thunder cut. Pouring the destruction, sword intent into the thunder sword. Yi Chun raised the sword high and hacked out, leaving a bright arc of light in the air. Dong! Pitter-patter. The sword and the talisman clashed. First, there was a loud sound, followed by countless small explosions. Between the two of them, countless small fireworks exploded. You actually broke my fragmentation mace. While being blown away by the shockwave, Chu Zhongtian's pupil shrank. As the user of the fragmentation mace, only he knew how powerful this move was. Those specks of dust might not seem to have any destructive power, but if one underestimated them and allowed them to get close to the body, no matter how strong one's defense was, one would still be blown half to death. That was because every speck of dust contained a lot of Zhen Yuan, and the moment it exploded, it would be extremely terrifying. However, Yi Chun had blocked his attack and detonated the specks of dust, causing the fragmentation mace to fail to achieve its intended effect. Very good. You have the qualifications to make me take you seriously. Chu Zhongtian stopped his body and stepped into the air. Dragging his long sword backward, Yi Chun stopped as well. He looked up and said, "If you have any powerful attacks or hidden power, just use them all. In front of me, you have no advantage at all." Haha, don't be so full of yourself. This fragmentation mace isn't my strongest move. Moreover, I feel that it's time to increase my battle power. As he spoke, an extremely dazzling yet not glaring dark red light burst out from Chu Zhongtian's body. His entire body seemed to be made of diamond, because how could a human's body endure such pure Zhen Yuan? The purity of this Zhen Yuan surpassed everyone else's. Fire spirit body, wrong? Earth spirit body, wrong as well. Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyan were guessing astral spirit sun's constitution. They had never fought with this person before, so they knew very little about him. They only knew that he had the strength to kill ordinary spirit warriors. This couldn't be faked, and no one would do so. However, neither the fire spirit body nor the earth spirit body were this tyrannical. The latter's constitution seemed to have surpassed the elemental spirit body, which was why he could endure purer and more explosive Zhen Yuan. Fortunately, he hadn't condensed a true martial soul. Otherwise, he would be even more frightening. The superiority of innate talent could sometimes obliterate a lifetime's worth of effort. Yi Chun, receive this mace of mine, and I'll admit that you're my opponent. Although Chu Zhongtian had turned serious, there were degrees of seriousness. Evidently, this was only ordinary seriousness. Can Yi Chun do it? The Zhen Yuan bursting out of Astral Spirit Sun's body is already not inferior to any spirit warrior. It's just that the quantity is a bit smaller. Yeah, this is my first time seeing an astral-reaching expert with Sea of Soul Realm Zhen Yuan. Everyone knew how frightening Astral Spirit Sun was. Therefore, they were more partial to him. After all, the former was famous here, while Yi Chun had no fame in the southern sector. Yi Chun didn't reply, nor did he explain. He only made a single movement, which was to return the thunder sword to its sheath. Then his body faintly trembled, like a peerless sword shaking off the dust on its body, once again blossoming with a resplendent radiance. Bang! The soaring sword intent was as viscous as water, soaring straight into the clouds. The sea of clouds was torn apart, revealing a spiral-shaped hole. Stunning sky was torn apart, and the purest yuan qi inside couldn't leak out, completely sealed by the sword intent. To tear apart stunning sky by relying on sword intent alone, how powerful was this sword intent? Edict Princely Shaoyan raised his head, his eyes squinting into a line as he said word by word, Quasi-Master Sword Intent. Quasi-Master Sword Intent and Master Sword Intent had similar foundations, but the latter blossomed with Sword Intent radiance. In other words, as long as the Quasi-Master Sword Intent blossomed with radiance, it would immediately advance to Master Sword Intent. However, in any case, Quasi-Master Sword Intent was already the strongest sword intent under Master Grade. In terms of might, it was more or less the same as Master Grade Martial Will. Chu Zhongtian was stunned, and his expression immediately turned gloomy. He originally thought that exchanging pointers with the opponent was already giving him a lot of face. But now, the situation seemed to have reversed. The opponent exchanging pointers with him was also giving him face, and it turned into him challenging the opponent, while the latter's sword intent continued to rise. Take my attack. Tyrant Dragon, Rapier Destruction. His figure flashed as Chu Zhongtian grabbed the dark red rapier with both of his hands, exploding with speed. A tangible light shot out from Yi Chen's eyes as he pulled out the destruction sword with his right hand and held the thunder sword's hilt with his left hand, accumulating power and lowering his center of gravity. Whoosh! Before Chu Zhongtian arrived, the strong wind had already blown Yi Chen's long black hair into the air, making it look like a black waterfall. Coupled with his handsome and elegant face, he looked like a sword artist from painting. Arriving above Yi Chen in an instant, Chu Zhongtian raised the rapier in his hand high up. A blazing dark red stream shot out like a dark red demonic dragon, making him look like a deity. One was extremely moving, the other extremely calm. It formed a miraculous scene where even the wind stopped moving. Break! Chu Zhongtian roared and hacked down with the rapier. Chop! Yi Chen waved his left and right hands at the same time. Two sword lights slashed out, interweaving into an irregular cross shape, dividing the space in front of him into 4 parts. Tyrant Dragon, Rapier Destruction. Sky Thundercut, Reverse Sky Thundercut. The two killing moves collided. The crowd could not hear anything at all. They could only see a huge mottled light ball wrapping around the two, making it impossible to see their figures. Boom! A dark red demonic dragon rushed out and tore the light ball apart. Pucci! A sword mark appeared on the other side of the light ball as sword lights soared into the sky. The next moment, a shock wave spread out like a flash flood. In the blink of an eye, it covered the sky of dozens of li. At the center of the shock wave, a dark red and dark blue light beam pierced through the clouds and soared into the sky. Look, the buildings outside the splendid garden are weathering. The streets are also sinking. Someone saw a shocking scene. The sturdy buildings made of thunder-veined stones had turned into fine sand, scattering with a breeze. It filled the entire sky, and the streets were also filled with dust and sinking rapidly. The destructive power created by the exchange between the two shocked everyone once again. Not only were the spectators of the younger generation shocked, even the experts in Thunder City were shocked. What level of battle could affect such a large area? Was the level of this year's tea gathering really that high? The corner of Jing Aoshuan's mouth twitched. Fortunately, the splendid garden was protected by a restrictive power. Otherwise, under this attack, the entire garden would have been obliterated. As for the buildings outside the garden, they were not residential buildings. Since the martial tea gathering was taking place, there was no one there. Otherwise, who knew how many people would have died under the aftermath? Pung! In the sky, Chu Zhongtian's body flew backwards. The clothes on his chest had a crisscrossed sword mark, revealing his skin and muscles. His skin and muscles did not suffer any injuries. Only 2 white marks were left, and his muscles were slightly dented. However, his expression was one of extreme anger, as if his dignity had been challenged. An even more terrifying aura erupted from his body, boiling wantonly. As his opponent, Yichen only took 3 steps back before stopping his body and looking at the retreating Chu Zhongtian with an indifferent expression. Not only is his Zhen Yuan powerful, his physical body is also terrifyingly strong. Even the dual sword style couldn't hurt him. Yi Chen frowned slightly. The power of the dual sword style was obvious to all. When one's power was raised to the same level, the power of the dual sword style would be equivalent to a profound martial skill at 40% completion. And this was because Yi Chen had only learned the basics of the dual sword style. Even so, it was still extremely powerful. Chapter 467. Buzz. Stamping his foot in the void, a circular ripple spread out, and Chu Zhongtian forcibly stabilized his body. He calmed his boiling blood and qi, then looked straight at Yi Chen, who was 1,000 meters away, and coldly said, "You are the first astral-reaching expert to force me back. You can be proud of yourself. However, that's all. Next, I will suppress you in all aspects until I obtain victory. You'd better prepare yourself." Down below, South Ridra region's people creased their brows. This astral spirit son was too arrogant. In the exchange, just now, everyone could see that Yi Chen had the absolute upper hand. Although they didn't know why he hadn't injured astral spirit son, Yi Chen's strength had already explained everything. Suppress me in all aspects? Yi Chen shook his head. No, you can't do it. Chu Zhongtian faintly smiled. Perhaps you think I'm arrogant and egotistical, but when I display my ultimate power before you, you'll know your own ignorance. Ultimate power. The spectators below didn't pay attention to Chu Zhongtian's tone and attitude. Instead, their curiosity was piqued by his last words. What was ultimate power? Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun exchanged a glance. In truth, although the battle between Chu Zhongtian and Yi Chen was world-shaking, it wasn't enough to move them. But now, it seemed like Chu Zhongtian was still concealing his strength. They wondered if Yi Chen had any other trump cards. Hearing these words, Yi Chen's gaze flickered. At this point, it was almost time for both sides to reveal their true strength. Letting out a light breath, Yi Chen said, "Ignorance is the language of gods." Saying the word ignorance means that your self-confidence is inflating. Very well, let me see your ultimate power. The two confronted each other with intense battle intent. Whether I'm ignorant or not, let me show you. Glancing at Yi Chen, Chu Zhongtian closed his eyes and relaxed his body to its most natural state. He then spread his arms, as if embracing the sun. Zhen Yuan, full release. Chu Zhongtian's relaxed body suddenly tightened. An extremely frightening and overbearing aura burst out from his body. The moment this aura burst out, every single pore on Chu Zhongtian's body exuded dark red streams of air. The streams of air curled up like smoke and mist. That was not all. The streams of air suddenly moved at a high speed, turning from a mist to a crystalline shape. They were like strands of dark red silk that were tens of thousands of years old. Not even treasured weapons could cut them. It must be known that the number of dark red crystal threads that were flowing out from Chu Zhongtian's body was more than 10 million. At that moment, the sun in the sky lost its color, and the whole world seemed to have turned black and white. Only the place where Chu Zhongtian stood had bright colors, and the color dyed the space red. Rumble. The ultra-high density of true essence immediately caused the world to change. In the sky above, dark clouds covered the sky, lightning flashed, and wind and rain swayed. Within Thunder City, hurricanes swept out without rhyme or reason, and the hurricanes battered towards all directions. The front of the hurricanes even converged into a wave of air that broke and snapped some flagpoles that were stuck at the entrance of the streets. On the mountain river platform, everyone felt it the most. In their eyes, the weather seemed to have changed from a sunny summer to a rainy season. The surroundings were gray and gloomy, and Chu Zhongtian, who was high up in the sky, had turned the place he was in into a dark red world. He was the king of that world. This, Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun's eyes were filled with bewilderment. What kind of physique can give birth to such a frightening Jin Yuan? Li Xiaoyan thought hard. Jing Aoshuan said solemnly, a dark red Jin Yuan, a physique that surpasses the attribute of a spirit body. Could it be the evil spirit body? The moment the words evil spirit body came out, even Jing Aoshuan, who mentioned the evil spirit body, had a solemn expression, not to mention Li Xiaoyan. Who would have thought that the evil spirit body that only appears once in 10,000 years would be born? This is truly a peak era. From the looks of it, what Chu Zhongtian has is not Jin Yuan, but evil Yuan, which is above Jin Yuan and belongs to the evil spirit body. A thunderous laughter came from the sky, and it came from Chu Zhongtian. My physique is the evil spirit body that only appears once in 10,000 years, and what I cultivate is not Jin Yuan, but evil Yuan, which is several times stronger than Jin Yuan. One move, and I can defeat you. Evil spirit body, so that's how it is. Yichen finally understood why Chu Zhongtian Jin Yuan was so pure and frightening. The combination of two Yuan Qis with different attributes was called astral Qi. Similarly, the combination of two Jin Yuan with different attributes was called evil Yuan. The might of astral Qi was several times stronger than ordinary Yuan Qi, and evil Yuan was naturally several times stronger than Jin Yuan. Normally speaking, it was impossible for humans to have astral essence. It was not only because of the endurance of the body, but also because of the conflicting attributes. Humans were not like nature. Nature could allow two different attributes of origin Qi to fuse together, but humans could not. Therefore, if one wanted to have astral essence, it was impossible to rely on artificial means. The only way was to rely on talent. And this talent was precisely the evil spirit body. Those who possessed the evil spirit body were born with a compound attribute, be it metal and wind, wood and water, fire and earth, and so on. Possessing any one of these compound attributes meant that one could combine the two corresponding types of true essence together to form astral essence. If his guess was correct, then Chu Zhongtian's astral essence should be a combination of fire attribute true essence and earth attribute true essence. This was called fire-earth astral essence, also known as fire-earth astral essence. Of course, although the evil spirit body was called a spirit body, it was actually different from a spirit body. Those with a single attribute spirit body were most proficient in cultivating the corresponding Jin Yuan and could achieve twice the result with half the effort, or even several times. The same was true for comprehending concepts and profound meanings, such as Jing Aoshuan's thunder spirit body. But the evil spirit body was not a combination of two different attributes. Otherwise, it would be several times more terrifying, and even Yi Chun would be killed in a second. The universe seemed to limit the excessively powerful constitution. The evil spirit body was a combination of two relatively compatible attributes. Individually, it was much weaker than an attribute spirit body. Only by combining them could it surpass an attribute spirit body. In other words, Chu Zhongtian's evil spirit body was not a combination of fire and earth spirit bodies, but a combination of two attributes that were slightly weaker than an attribute spirit body. There was no doubt about this. In any case, the combination of the two Jin Yuan was too powerful. The Jin Yuan's power increased several times, and so did the quality. In the same environment, Chu Zhongtian's battle strength was several times stronger than a martial artist of the same realm. This was Chu Zhongtian's ultimate strength. What? Evil spirit body. Evil spirit body. Chu Zhongtian's ultimate strength is actually this. It is said that the evil spirit body has not appeared for nearly 5,000 years, and in the past, it was rare to see one in 10,000 years. Who would have thought that it would appear in advance? And this person is Chu Zhongtian. If Chu Zhongtian did not say it, many people would not have thought of it. The evil spirit body was too mysterious, and they had only heard some ancient rumors. They did not know whether it was true or not, so they naturally would not think about it in this direction. But now, Chu Zhongtian took the initiative to say it. Recalling the rumors about the evil spirit body, their eyes turned sluggish, filled with disbelief. They did not know how powerful the evil spirit body was. They only knew that every time an evil spirit body appeared, it would set off a battle of geniuses that affected the whole continent. At this time, the number of geniuses on the continent was much higher than usual, and the evil spirit body was one of the kings among the many talents, the apex talent. Every person who possessed the evil spirit physique had a legendary personal experience and was nearly invincible in the world. One must know that a small improvement for others would be a big improvement for those who possess the evil spirit physique. Even if they fell behind for a moment, they might surpass them in the next moment. The evil spirit body was a monstrous physique. Sooner or later, those with the evil spirit body would also become monstrous characters. This was a gift from the heavens favoring them. This is too unexpected. Chu Zhongtian is arrogant, and he has the capital to be arrogant. This can't be blamed on him. Those with the evil spirit body are born with different personalities. They may be extremely bloodthirsty, cold, or arrogant. This is related to the composition of the compound attribute, which influences and shapes their character. Sigh. Although I was a little optimistic about Yi-chan, I have to admit that in front of a monstrous talent, effort and perception will be erased. No, physique is only a narrow sense of talent. In fact, those who can become geniuses all have their own talent. You can't become a genius by relying on effort. You're right. Geniuses, natural talents. They all have talent, but the form is different. Everyone was discussing, both surprised and shocked. The appearance of the evil spirit body meant that this was indeed a peak era. Now, they were even more certain. Tuo Baku, will Yi-chan lose? Mu Lingfeng looked at Tuo Baku. Tuo Baku shook his head. I don't know, but he can't be blamed for losing. Chu Zhongtian's talent is too powerful. His battle power is several times that of the same realm warriors. Who can resist him? In the sky, Chu Zhongtian held the dark red rapier in his right hand and raised it high above his head. An extremely bright dark red light condensed on the tip of the rapier, and the area instantly turned into a vacuum. I can defeat you in one move. Chu Zhongtian looked down at Yi-chan, his pupils slightly dark red. Monstrous talent. Then my innately powerful soul can also be considered a monstrous talent, right? Let's see who is more monstrous. Yi-chan shook his head, his eyes suddenly turning deep. His forehead swelled like a diamond bead, and the swollen part actually released a radiance that almost didn't exist in this world. Buzz! The black and white color faded away. The dark clouds dispersed, and the thunder disappeared. An incorporeal sword intent soared into the sky. What was even more frightening was that although the sword intent this time was still invisible and could only be felt wherever the sword intent touched, a radiance was born. This was the radiance of sword intent. When the sword intent gave birth to a radiance, it would be the master level sword intent. The master level sword intent had already surpassed the boundary between illusion and reality. Wherever there was radiance, it would be the sword intent. The eyes could see it, and they could even feel it. It made the sword intent become real. Chapter 468. Master Level Sword Intent. Li Xiaoyan suddenly stood up, his face full of shock. Jing Aoshuan looked at the sword intent radiance in a daze, then let out a breath and said, judging from this aspect alone, he is definitely the number one since the ancient times. In the peak era, all kinds of body types have appeared. Now, it is time for the soul and will geniuses to appear. Every time the peak era arrived, the warriors in the continent would have a feast for their eyes, because all kinds of talents that had appeared in the history would appear one after another. For example, the elemental spirit body, the evil spirit body, and the talent in Will Like Yi-chan. It was said that there were also many other talents that were not inferior to the others, such as the innate great Dharma body, which was rarely seen in 100,000 years. People with such Dharma bodies would have Jin Yuan 10 times or even dozens of times more than ordinary people. As long as these people did not die, their achievements would be shocking. The peak era. The competition has never been so intense. Li Xiaoyun's eyes were filled with passion. That kind of passion was something that ordinary people could not describe. They did not understand the feeling of standing at the peak. Jing Aoshuan, originally, I only wanted to exchange pointers with you. There was no need for a winner or loser. But now I've changed my mind. You, me, and the two of them, we need to have a winner or loser. Only a winner or loser can make all of us improve. Exchanging pointers will not solve any big problems. Jing Aoshuan said lightly. This is also what I wanted to say. In the future competition among the geniuses of the continent, only one person can stand at the peak and look down on the whole world. Boom! While the two were talking, Chu Zhongtian threw out his most powerful attack toward Yichun. It was still the Tyrant Dragon Destruction, but it was twice as powerful as before. The dark red demonic dragon, Qi, almost shattered the void as it slashed down. Sky Thundercut. Reverse Sky Thundercut. The light on Yichun's forehead did not dissipate as he held the Thunder Sword in his left hand and the Destruction Sword in his right hand. The two swords slashed toward the same point, crisscrossing and bursting out. A dreamy sword intent radiance shot out like a silver galaxy in the sky, deep and unshakable. Rumble. This time, the two of them were fighting at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Destructive energy shock waves radiated out, creating a mottled light ball with a diameter of several tens of meters. The light ball rapidly expanded in a spiral shape and soon became several miles in size. Finally, it exploded, shaking the world and causing the air to flow more than 1,000 times faster. Evil Spirit Body is also several times stronger than ordinary people. You can't hurt me. Chu Zhongtian was sent flying. His face was filled with shock at first, and then he roared in anger. He didn't expect that Yi Chen's battle prowess would rise to such an extent. Not only did Yi Chen suppress him, but he also sent him flying again. This was something he didn't expect at all. If one time isn't enough, then 10 times. Yi Chen only took half a step back. After that, he turned around and rushed forward, displaying the twin sword style once again. Clang! The intersecting sword light exploded in front of Chu Zhongtian, and the dark red rapier almost flew out of his hand. This attack made Chu Zhongtian fly back even faster. Every time a circular shockwave appeared around his body, his flying speed would increase by 1-fold. 3 times, which meant 3 times the speed of sound. This might be the fastest backward speed in a battle between astral-reaching realm experts. Damn it, stop right there. Chu Zhongtian's body shook violently, and the air behind him exploded. The resulting explosive power canceled out the power of flying back, and he seized the opportunity to stop himself from flying back. Chu! Ignoring his boiling qi and blood, Chu Zhongtian's evil yuan exploded, dodging Yi Chen's third attack. Such a fast speed. This time, Yi Chen was a bit surprised. It seemed like the evil yuan had not only increased Chu Zhongtian's battle prowess, but had also increased his defense and speed to an unimaginable level. Even if he was very arrogant, Yi Chen wouldn't be able to beat him quickly. No, it would be very difficult to beat him down. He was like a cockroach that couldn't be beaten. Fragmenting rapier, a fine dust appeared, and as Chu Zhongtian dodged, he threw out a rapier attack at Yi Chen. Chin! The thunder sword in his left hand sliced out in the opposite direction, and Yi Chen blocked out Chu Zhongtian's attack. He even sent a part of the energy back, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Chu Zhongtian sneered as he formed a fist with his left hand and punched out, shattering the energy wave. Down below, Baku mumbled to himself. This battle is not going to be that easy to decide. He naturally knew that Yi Chen was more powerful, but it didn't mean that Chu Zhongtian was like a fish on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. The difference between the two was only a thin line. Plus, Chu Zhongtian's speed and defense were so freakish, which canceled out Yi Chen's advantage. The others were thinking the same thing as Baku. In fact, when Yi Chen exploded with his master-level sword intent, it was what shocked them the most, and they would never be able to forget it. Chin, 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 chin. The two exchanged blows in the sky, and the sparks from the collision of their weapons never stopped. Whenever one side lit up, the other side would appear as well. Perhaps, only by directly hitting his body would I be able to wound him. After forcing back Chu Zhongtian with one sword attack, Yi Chun thought to himself, "You are able to raise your sword intense power to master level, which is indeed very powerful. Even I have to admire you. But with the evil spirit body, I am unbeatable. Even two of you together would not be enough." Chu Zhongtian had already understood that wanting to beat Yi Chun beautifully was just a pipe dream. Right now, the only thing he could do was to exhaust his opponent's power and use a prolonged battle to defeat him. "Is that so?" Yi Chun glanced at the corner of his eyes, and his figure instantly appeared on the right side of Chu Zhongtian. The light he brought up was like a sword light, giving people the illusion that he was using his body to perform a sword art. What kind of step art is this? Chu Zhongtian was caught off guard as he hurried to raise his rapier to block. Clang! 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 Yi Chun attacked 64 times, and 3 of them broke through Chu Zhongtian's defense, landing on his shoulder, chest, and arm. The sound of clothes tearing rang out as Chu Zhongtian retreated with a gloomy face. Using the body as a sword. Is this the unity of man and sword? Jing Aoshuan was a little confused. Li Xiaoyan shook his head. No, an ordinary unity of man and sword would not be able to move as freely as this. This is still a sword art, but he has turned himself into a sword art. However, the unity of man and sword is about the inseparability of man and sword. There is a subtle difference between the two. Whether it was the unity of man and sword or not, or he had turned himself into a sword, Chu Zhongtian was very passive. After all, Yi Chun's sword art was already very powerful, and now, even his step art was a sword art. His reaction was inevitably a beat slower, and he could not grasp the initiative. Chi! The clothes on his back were torn open as Chu Zhongtian hurried to turn around and wave his rapier. No, normal attacks would not be able to do anything to him. I have to land a killing attack. The rapier's shadow brushed past his chest. Yi Chun lifted up his left hand and flicked his finger. Boom! The dark red rapier in his hand was blown away, and the sword Qi spread out. Chu Zhongtian knew that it was not good, since he had forgotten that Yi Chun's fingers could also release sword Qi. Moreover, it was even more powerful than normal sword Qi, almost as powerful as an ace attack. Cut! Seizing the opportunity, Yi Chun's speed exploded. His 2 swords, one in front and the other in the back, attacked out. Impossible! Chu Zhongtian threw out his left fist. A metal exploding sound was heard as the sword light on Chu Zhongtian's fist sliced through, leaving behind 2 intersecting white marks. Burning sparks shot out everywhere, covering more than 1 mile. Meanwhile, Chu Zhongtian's feet felt weak, and he was blown away. A battle of this level has already surpassed my imagination. I simply can't imagine how an astral-reaching expert could possess such a frightening battle power. Yeah, Astral Spirit Sun has the Astral Spirit Body, which boosts his battle power and defense. No wonder he could kill a spirit warrior. Yi Chun is even more frightening. He has already displayed the sharpness of a sword artist to the extreme. Astral Spirit Sun can't have an easy time against him, and is completely suppressed. This is a peak confrontation, a battle of the highest level among the young generation of Southern Sector. On the platform, everyone was extremely excited. Their eyes were unblinkingly watching the battle in the sky, although they couldn't see the actual content of the battle. Dark Flame Annihilation Wave. Being forced into a corner by Yi Chun, Chu Zhongtian used the Dark Flame Annihilation Wave, which had the widest range but was slightly inferior in single-target attacks. With a swing of the mace, a dark red radiance shot out in a fan shape, soaring into the sky and submerging Yi Chun within. Those with good eyesight could see a gap in the fan shape. Faintly, one could see a human figure standing there with 2 swords crossed, repelling the dark red radiance. Tyrant Dragon, Mace Destruction. Seizing the upper hand for the first time, Chu Zhongtian flew into the dark red radiance, which had yet to dissipate. His mace descended from the sky and fiercely chopped down. A dragon roar resounded in the sky, and the dark red, demonic dragon Qi flow wreaked havoc. However, the next moment, The demonic dragon chi flow was decapitated, and the blue-robed Yi Chun rushed out, sweeping his sword horizontally, scattering a crescent moon-like sword light. Truly repulsive. Chu Zhongtian had already used up all of his power, so he had no choice but to raise his mace to block and back out. Not good. I can only perform the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts. Only the 9th movement can open a gap in his defense and create an opportunity. With that thought, Yi Chun put away his Thunder Sword and Destruction Sword, and the Green Wood Sword bounced out. The Green Wood Sword shone with a soft blue light. Within the light, there seemed to be countless plants growing, full of vitality. Carrying the Green Wood Sword, Yi Chun chased after Chu Zhongtian. The Green Wood Sword twirled in his hand, and then stabbed out close to nature. The 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts. Life, life, life. Chu Zhongtian opened his eyes wide, watching the sword light enlarge in front of his eyes. That sword attack was so mysterious. It did not seem to be a sword art, but the process of plants growing. Under this sword attack that seemed to be in harmony with nature, Chu Zhongtian realized that no matter how hard he tried to dodge, he would not be able to avoid it. 50%. Jing Aoshuan, who was watching from below, could not help but blurt out. Before comprehending the profound, one could only comprehend a 50% profound martial art at most. However, Yi Chen's sword attack had obviously reached the critical point. In other words, with one more step, Yi Chun would be able to comprehend a bit of the wood profound. At that time, the realm would be completely different. Since I can't dodge it, then there is no need to dodge. Chu Zhongtian roared, holding the dark red rapier in his hand and attacking with all of his power. Pooh! The sword and rapier clashed. Chu Zhongtian's power was shattered the moment it touched the rapier, and his hand started to bleed. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's sword attack seemed to have endless power. It seemed to be unstoppable. This sword attack was even more horrifying than the double sword attack. Chapter 469. The sword turned into a beam of light and shot out of Chu Zhongtian's hand. Blue veins popped out on his face as he pushed his evil yuan to its limit. In the next second, the dark red chi flow burst out with a light even brighter than the sun. There were even beams of red light shooting out, attacking in all directions. However, Yi Chun, who had thrown out this sword attack, had a powerful sword chi which was shapeless and formless. As long as there was a beam of red light coming towards it, it would be bounced off and shattered. Crack! Pooh! The greenwood sword stabbed on the dark red protective evil yuan, creating a teeth-aching sound of metal rubbing against each other. In the next second, the protective layer was pierced through. Yi Chun was expressionless as he waved the long sword in his hand, not only tearing apart Chu Zhongtian's protective Jin Yuan, but also cutting off his left arm. In his sight, Chu Zhongtian was left wide open without any protection. A scene that could be regarded as a classic by many sword artists happened. Yi Chun put the greenwood sword back into the scabbard at his waist. At the same time, he took out the destruction sword and held the thunder sword with his left hand as well. The whole series of movements were completed in the blink of an eye, so fast that it created countless afterimages. Sky Thundercut, Reverse Sky Thundercut. Holding his breath, Yi Chun's eyes shone brightly. Two beams of sword light intertwined and exploded in a cross shape, landing heavily on Chu Zhongtian's chest. Swoosh! Blood splashed out from the cross shape. Chu Zhongtian had been wounded. His whole body was pushed back to the stage by the power of the two sword attacks. The wind pressure generated was like a storm with a force of 10 degrees. The sound of people taking in cold breaths was heard one after another. Chu Zhongtian has lost. Even with such a powerful defense, he was still defeated. I am afraid only a sword artist like Yi Chun can beat Chu Zhongtian. If it were someone else with similar power, they might not be able to do anything to Chu Zhongtian. Our southern sector has never had a young swordsman, but this time we finally have one, and he is definitely the best. Listening to the discussion of the crowd, Chu Zhongtian's expression was quite ugly. He had lost, and it was the first time he had lost to a member of the younger generation. It seemed that his opponent was a few years younger than him, at most 22 years old, but his experience was definitely not that of a 22-year-old. He lowered his head and looked at his chest. It was dripping with blood, and a cross-shaped wound had appeared on it. The wound at the intersection was the deepest, almost splitting his sternum. Shame. Absolute humiliation. Evil spirit body was different from ordinary physiques. The scars on the body would not disappear before reaching the life and death realm. These scars would always accompany him. Boom! A violent dark red chi flow shot up into the sky. Chu Zhongtian wanted a battle with Yi Chen again. Chu Zhongtian, you've lost. This match is over. Jing Aoshuan stepped forward to stop him. Chu Zhongtian glared at Jing Aoshuan. You can't stop me. Jing Aoshuan said indifferently. The martial tea gathering is not a place to decide life and death. Losing one move is still a loss. I hope you can abide by the rules. Huh. For me, there must be a real winner in a battle. Get out of my way. Chu Zhongtian took one step forward, and a fierce dark red chi flow shot out. Jing Aoshuan did not continue to speak. Thunder flashed in front of her eyes, and the thunder was extremely violent. In the next second, a wave of dark blue chi flow shot up into the sky. It contained an extremely horrifying martial will, directly tearing apart the sky. The two chi flows clashed together, each occupying half of the sky. Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan used her actions to tell Chu Zhongtian whose home field this was. Everyone tried their best to defend against the two chi flows, as they exclaimed. Martial spirit, martial intent. In this Zhen Yuan, it doesn't seem to be any weaker than Chu Zhongtian's evil Yuan. Could she have already trained her top-rank Earth Realm martial art to the 14th level? No, I'm afraid it's the highest level, the 15th level. I've long heard that Princess Jing has the Thunder Spirit body, and her speed of training Thunder Element Jin Yuan is several times faster than ordinary people. Now that I see it, it seems to be true. Although the Zhen Yuan trained by the Element Spirit body was not as good as the evil Yuan of the Evil Spirit body, there was one thing that the Evil Spirit body could not compare with, which was the speed of training the corresponding Jin Yuan. Others might only be able to increase their martial arts by one level in a few years, but the Element Spirit body could increase it by 3 or even 4 levels, which led to the Spirit body being able to train the top-rank Earth Realm martial arts to the highest level faster. Without a doubt, in terms of martial arts training, Jing Aoshuan had already walked ahead of everyone else. She had even condensed a real martial spirit. Yi Chen, who had landed on the stage, was not surprised at this scene. If Jing Aoshuan did not have some ability, she would not be able to become the host of this tea gathering. Of course, he could also tell that Chu Zhongtian's evil Yuan was actually stronger than Jing Aoshuan's Zhen Yuan, even if it was enhanced with a martial spirit, martial intent. But one should not forget that Jing Aoshuan's speed of training Thunder Element Jin Yuan was fast, and her speed of comprehending Thunder Mentality and Thunder Profound was also fast. This was something that Chu Zhongtian could not compete with. Chu Zhongtian had obviously thought of this as well. Not to mention the fact that he had consumed a lot of energy and only had 80 to 90% of his battle strength left. Even at his peak, he might not be able to defeat Jing Aoshuan. She was an expert at the same level as him, and without a life and death battle, it would be hard to tell who was stronger and who was weaker. Withdrawing his evil Yuan, Chu Zhongtian turned around and walked back to his seat while saying, "All right, I'll give you, Jing Aoshuan, some face." Jing Aoshuan also withdrew her Jin Yuan and secretly let out a breath. She was really worried that Chu Zhongtian would do something irrational. Once he flipped out, she was afraid that she would need to gather the power of Yi Chen, Li Xiaoyun, and herself to suppress him. After all, defeating and suppressing were two different things. Chu Zhongtian was the kind of person who could not be beaten down, and it could be seen from the fact that he only bled a little after receiving a killing move from Yi Chen. However, Chu Zhongtian's concession had made her think more highly of him. The untamable nature of the evil spirit body was something that had been known since the ancient times. Once they had made up their mind, it would be hard to stop them. Turning around, Jing Aoshuan nodded at Yi Chen. From her eyes, it was easy to tell that she had already considered Yi Chen as someone at the same level as her. "Then, I will go rest now." Yi Chen held his fists together and returned to his seat. Yi Chen won. Yi Chen had actually beaten the true dragon realm, astral spirit sun. Our South Ritter region has been pushed to the heart of the storm. We have to work even harder when we get back, so that we won't be looked down upon by others. Among the 17 warriors from the South Ritter region, some of them were the top warriors in this year's Hidden Dragon rank, so they were discussing secretly. Not only the South Ritter region, but also the young warriors from the other regions were watching Yi Chen. Their eyes were filled with passion, jealousy, and admiration. It was extremely complicated. In the pavilion, Tuo Ku forced a smile. I did not expect that the astral spirit sun with the evil spirit body would lose to you. I guess you can even be called the #1 warrior of the Southern Ritter region. Yi Chen shook his head and smiled. Don't look down on Chu Zhongtian. Seriously speaking, his strength is more or less the same as mine. Defense is also a part of strength. If we were to have a battle of life and death, I would not have the confidence to win. As for the #1 warrior of the Southern Ritter region, you are underestimating Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyan too much. They might not be able to beat Chu Zhongtian, but they might not lose to me either. The path of cultivation is too unpredictable. Tuo Ku nodded. He knew that what Yi Chen said was right. But no matter what, among the young warriors of the Southern Ritter region, there was almost no one who could beat Yi Chen. Li Xiaoyan, it is our turn to fight. Without returning to her seat, Jing Aoshuan looked at Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan. Of course, opening his silver fan, Li Xiaoyan flashed onto the stage. The battle between Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyan was definitely not inferior to the battle between Yi Chen and Chu Zhongtian. The shockwaves coming from the stage never stopped. Jing Aoshuan's martial arts had already been trained to the highest level, the 15th level. Her Zhenyuan was extremely pure, and she had also condensed a real martial spirit. Combined with her thunder profound martial arts, each of her movements was extremely aggressive, possessing the will and style of thunder. Li Xiaoyan's martial arts were at the 14th level, so his Zhenyuan purity was slightly lower than Jing Aoshuan's. However, in terms of willpower, he was only below Yi Chen's. He had actually condensed a quasi-master level martial spirit. Moreover, he had trained a lot of profound martial arts, probably the most out of everyone present. He had 3 wind profound martial arts and 2 starlight profound martial arts. In addition, there was a mysterious power sealed in both of his hands. Every time this mysterious power exploded, it would be able to dissolve Jing Aoshuan's attacks. Boom! The Zhenyuan wall in front of the pavilion was shattered, and the fist wind was about to reach. Yi Chen flicked out a green lotus sword chi, shattering the fist wind. What a horrifying thunder profound martial art, Tuo Baku said. This time, the Zhenyuan wall shattering was completely an accident. After all, the shockwave alone would not be able to shatter Tuo Baku's defense. But it was not the shockwave that had shattered the Zhenyuan wall, but Jing Aoshuan's real attack. It turned out that Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan had dodged Jing Aoshuan's attack, which had caused the fist wind to travel all the way. Fortunately, the fist wind had already exhausted its power. Otherwise, it would not have been something that a green lotus sword chi could shatter. A 50% mastery thunder profound martial skill is indeed extraordinary. Yi Chen himself had also trained the thunder mentality, so he could naturally see Jing Aoshuan's achievement in the thunder profound martial art. In fact, the thunder spirit body combined with the thunder profound martial art would give her an advantage over normal people. On the stage, Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyan shot up into the sky. Boom! Boom! Thunder flickered in the sky, and the entire dark cloud turned into Jing Aoshuan's support. Li Xiaoyan was not going to pass on the responsibility. The wind profound martial art could always blow away the dark clouds and the thunder, while the starlight profound martial art had an unimaginable penetrative power. Extreme Emperor World shocking fist art. Jing Aoshuan performed a fist art that was even more horrifying than the Extreme Emperor World tyrannical fist art. The vibrating thunder light was like an angry dragon as it rushed out. Break! The iron fan in Li Xiaoyan's hand danced in the sky as he performed an extremely powerful wind profound martial art as well, shattering Jing Aoshuan's attack. This battle lasted until dusk. Both sides were still evenly matched. Although they were physically exhausted, their mental state was obviously more vigorous than before. It was the fighting spirit that came from being fully focused. After another 1,000 attacks, Li Xiaoyan stopped his attacks and laughed. It seems like half a day is not enough. The tea gathering will end in the morning. Jing Aoshuan nodded. Let's call it a draw. It was not that the two did not want to have a winner. In fact, they were clear that when they were exhausted, it would be the best time to do so. However, time obviously did not allow it. After all, they were not the finale, and they still had to fight with Chu Zhongtian and Yi Chen. As for who to choose, it would be decided by drawing lots. If they drew Chu Zhongtian, they would not be able to fight with Yi Chen. That was something that could not be helped. They could only choose one out of the two, even if it was Chu Zhongtian or Yi Chen. Chapter 470. The sunlight crystal pillar in the beautiful garden had already lit up, its radiance lighting up the entire garden and the platform, as if it were daytime. Inside the pavilion, the crowd was in a heated discussion. Princess Jing and Edict Prince are evenly matched. I wonder if there will be a winner in the next two matches. Difficult. Chu Zhongtian's defense is absolutely abnormal, while Princess Jing's attacks are as fast as thunder. Edict Prince is as ethereal as the wind, while Yi Chen's sword art is unfathomable. If we were talking about the chances of winning, I would choose Yi Chen. After all, he is unfathomable. Unfathomable means unfathomable. That makes sense, but I feel like Edict Prince should be the winner. He has a lot of profound martial arts. Drawing lots was very simple. There were 4 wooden lots, 2 red and 2 blue. The red ones would fight with the red ones, and the blue ones would fight with the blue ones. Spirit power was not allowed, and if one used it, the others would be able to sense it. As for Yi Chen, he did not think of using his soul power to cheat. For him, it was the same no matter who he fought. Yi Chen drew a red lot, and so did Edict Prince Li Xiaoyan. My luck is not bad. Compared to Chu Zhongtian, Li Xiaoyan preferred to fight with Yi Chen. It was not because Chu Zhongtian was weak. On the contrary, Chu Zhongtian's defense was too strong. No matter how many profound martial arts he had, he would not be able to gain the upper hand. Therefore, it was better to fight with Yi Chen. Jing Aoshuan and Chu Zhongtian's match began first. The two had already competed in terms of Zhen Yuan and martial power. Jing Aoshuan was slightly weaker, but if they were to fight for real, they would be evenly matched. Jing Aoshuan's comprehension of profound sense martial arts was higher than Chu Zhongtian's. Dark Flame Annihilation Wave. The battle had reached its climax. Chu Zhongtian had performed his wide-range profound sense martial art, which was a bit weaker in terms of single-target attacks. The dark red energy wave drowned Jing Aoshuan within a second. Pung! The energy wave exploded. Jing Aoshuan went against the current and punched at Chu Zhongtian with her right fist that carried endless lightning. Chu Zhongtian's tyrant dragon truncheon of destruction was just completed, and he met it head-on. An earth-shattering explosion shook the entire sky above Thunder City. 2 figures were sent flying backwards. Between them was a rapidly expanding dark light that devoured the darkness. Energy Blade Slash. Chu Zhongtian's vital spirit was indeed powerful. In terms of dispelling negative influences, it was stronger than Jing Aoshuan's. Therefore, even though he was in a reverse state, he could still use a small part of his vital spirit to launch a large-scale ordinary attack on Jing Aoshuan. Chi Chi Chi. The dark red blade of airflow sliced through the void and enveloped Jing Aoshuan. Jing Aoshuan took a deep breath. As she inhaled, her body flashed with tyrannical thunder. Her Jinqi seemed to suddenly become active, forming a dark blue vortex outside her body. She clenched her right fist, and her middle finger protruded out as she punched. Extreme Monarch Tyrannical Fist. The mighty fist wind destroyed countless incoming airflow blades and tore apart the dark light that was still expanding, forcing Chu Zhongtian to retreat another 100 steps. However, Chu Zhongtian had already activated his Great Spirit Shield. The fist wind collided with the Great Spirit Shield, and an ear-piercing sound of metal rubbing could be heard. However, there was no effect at all. This Yi-chun is really scary. Seeing this scene, Jing Aoshuan had to admit that in some aspects, she was inferior to Yi-chun. Since Yi-chun was able to defeat Chu Zhongtian, she thought that even if she couldn't defeat him, she would at least have the upper hand. However, imagination and reality were completely different. Chu Zhongtian was definitely not an easy opponent. His defense was strong, his attack was high, and his dodging was also high. If she didn't have the Thunder Spirit body, which could stimulate the activity of her body and make her reflexes far better than ordinary people, she might not be able to compete with Chu Zhongtian. She more or less knew that Yi-chun was not only strong in battle, but he was also an all-rounder and a genius with super adaptability. For example, there were also restraints between geniuses. Some people with similar strength would lose the battle because they were restrained. However, this problem basically didn't exist for Yi-chun. He wouldn't be at a disadvantage against anyone. If he wanted to attack, he could attack. If he wanted to dodge, he could dodge. If he wanted to use techniques, he could use techniques. All in all, in a one-on-one fight, Jing Aoshuan wasn't afraid of Yi-chun. In terms of battle adaptability, she was far behind Yi-chun. Yi-chun did not have any weaknesses. He was a flawless sword artist. Li Xiaoyan could also see that Jing Aoshuan couldn't do anything to Chu Zhongtian. Previously, Yi-chun had defeated Chu Zhongtian. He was very clear about what this meant. I really can't be careless at all. For the first time, Li Xiaoyan didn't have the confidence to win. Even when he was fighting against Jing Aoshuan, he thought that the final victory would belong to him as long as he had enough time. This wasn't confidence in strength, but confidence in character. Even if he couldn't win, he had to win. However, the battle between Jing Aoshuan and Chu Zhongtian made him understand that Yi-chun wasn't an ordinary person. Yi-chun didn't have any flaws, which could be seen from Chu Zhongtian's embarrassing look. Involuntarily, Li Xiaoyan turned his head and glanced at Yi-chun. Yi-chun had a deep look in his eyes as he watched the battle between Chu Zhongtian and Jing Aoshuan. To be exact, he was watching Jing Aoshuan. Her achievement in the thunder mentality was something he couldn't compete with. He had noticed the details, but the deeper level of the mentality was something he had yet to understand. She is indeed the Thunder Princess. She has already touched the edge of the Thunder Profound. She is only one step away. Yi-chun was secretly shocked. As long as Jing Aoshuan could learn a little bit of the Thunder Profound, no one here would be her opponent, including him. Of course, there were more areas where he could make breakthroughs, such as the Sword Spirit Embryo, the Green Lotus Sword spell, and the Wood Mentality. Boom! In the sky, the dark chi flow and the black thunder each took up half of the sky. The battle between the two was equally matched, and neither could do anything to the other. Jing Aoshuan took back her hand and stood in midair. I can't win. Chu Zhongtian made a face. I can't win you either. He was very depressed. It was fine that there was only one Yi-chun, but Jing Aoshuan was also very powerful. Adding Li Xiaoyan, who was at the same level as Jing Aoshuan, he couldn't win against any of the three. He had even lost to Yi-chun. Yi-chun, it is our turn. Li Xiaoyan made a gesture with his right hand. Waking up from his state of enlightenment, Yi-chun nodded. Shoo! Shoo! The two did not waste any time and flew into the sky directly. Dancing Dragon Fan. Li Xiaoyan attacked first. A huge amount of wind yuan qi gathered, turning into a crystal-clear tornado, attacking towards Yi-chun. Shoo! The tornado was sliced open. It turned out that Yi-chun had already used his sword to counterattack before the tornado's power reached its peak. Powerful! Li Xiaoyan looked serious. He didn't have time to attack and immediately retreated. While retreating, he waved his iron fan and performed pear flower fan and sickle blade fan. The pear flower-shaped tornado and the sickle-like wind blade attacked Yi-chun from the left and right. Yi-chun was extremely calm. He teleported 7 steps back. These 7 steps were very clever. The tornado and the blade collided 3 steps in front of him, and the distance of 3 steps was the most powerful distance of the reverse sky thunder cut. The sword light rolled up, guiding the chaotic energy wave towards Li Xiaoyan. Li Xiaoyan's speed of retreat was not as fast as the energy wave. He waved his iron fan in the air and protected himself tightly. Boom, 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 boom. Qi power explosions sounded out continuously. Li Xiaoyan's qi and blood were slightly boiling. All of a sudden, Li Xiaoyan was like a light breeze. He had not only avoided the explosion of the energy wave, but had also teleported for dozens of steps. Right where he was standing, the cross-shaped sword light crossed over. It was Yi Chen's double sword flow. So close, a cold light flashed through his eyes. The iron fan in Li Xiaoyan's hand spun and shook. The Starlight Profound Sense martial art, Fan Dance 7-star kill, was thrown out. Without turning around, Yi Chen held the Thunder Sword with his left hand in a reverse grip. He only swung it backward. The twisted sword light sliced through the 7 cold stars, shattering his opponent's ace attack. At the same time, his feet sliced through the air, flying upside down in the air. He performed the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts, Amaranthine Nature. Li Xiaoyan's pupils shrank to the size of a needle. He was very clear about the power of this sword attack. Even Chu Zhongtian had suffered a huge loss, being attacked by Yi Chen without any defensive power. If Li Xiaoyan was hit by this sword attack, he would basically lose for sure. I can't be hit. On Li Xiaoyan's right arm, sparkles of starlight appeared. The blood vessels inside had all turned transparent, visible to the naked eye. On the skin of his right arm, a circle of complicated light patterns appeared. They were very ancient, like stars, but also like the orbit of the stars. On the skin of Li Xiaoyan's left arm, a circle of light patterns appeared as well. It was like a whirlwind pattern, but it was less ancient and more aggressive. Wind barrier. Without any process of performing profound sense, Li Xiaoyan reached out his left hand. A wind wall appeared out of nowhere in front of him. The wind wall was mysterious, with a big whirlwind covering a small whirlwind and a small whirlwind connecting a big whirlwind. It did not need any power to keep spinning until it was destroyed. Pooh! The wind wall was pierced through and torn apart. The 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts was not called Amaranthine Nature for nothing. Although the wind wall was self-sustaining, it could not compete with the destructive speed of Amaranthine Nature. It was an extremely horrifying sword attack. 7-star crossing. Li Xiaoyan knew that the wind barrier would not be able to stop Yi Chen, but it did not matter. His real target was the attack of his right hand. He rubbed his thumb, and the iron fan closed, looking like a bright silver iron ruler. The iron ruler was filled with a huge amount of Zhen Yuan and starlight, and he waved it out. 1-star bead, 2-star beads, 3-star beads. According to the arrangement of the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper, star beads formed from Zhen Yuan and starlight were born one after another. These star beads flickered with a bright light. Yi Chen frowned slightly. The 7 stars of the Northern Dipper in the sky above the true spirit continent were not the same as the 7 stars of his world. They were the main stars of the Northern Dipper star region and had a magnificent, mysterious power. Somehow, he knew that once the 7 stars were arranged, it would be a threat to him. Although he was not afraid of the threat, it would be more effective to destroy it before it was released. The greenwood sword vibrated, and the sword qi that had been waiting for a long time was spat out. Pop! The 6-star bead had just been born, but it was immediately destroyed by the sword qi. Then the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, so fast. Li Xiaoyan frowned, even harder than Yi Chen's. Yi Chen's toughness was something he had experienced for himself. The latter would not give him any chance at all. His 7-star crossing, the 7-star beads were born at a lightning speed, but it still could not be arranged completely. The last star bead was destroyed, and Yi Chen's Amaranthine Nature was only left with a trace of power, which crashed onto Li Xiaoyan's protective Zhen Yuan. His protective Zhen Yuan was not broken, but Li Xiaoyan was blown back. Standing there with his sword in hand, Yi Chen did not chase after Li Xiaoyan. The sword tip pointed at the ground, kept spitting out sword light like a poisonous snake. Chapter 471. Yi Chen, I have never admired anyone in terms of fighting skills, but today I am impressed. However, with your ability, you might not be able to break the 7-star crossing. Li Xiaoyan admired Yi Chen a little bit. It was because of this that he knew that only the ultimate killing move, 7-star crossing, could pose a threat to him. The 7-star travel would require him to take out the star power that was sealed in his right arm, and the remaining star power would be able to perform it twice. But this time, he did not have to go through the process of unsealing it. Therefore, Li Xiaoyan was able to perform it even faster. The 7-star pearls flashed in the air. After the 7-star crossing was finished, it formed a subtle connection with the 7-star of the Big Dipper in the sky, continuously absorbing the power of the real 7-star of the Big Dipper to replenish itself. Immediately, bright starlight shone from the star beads, and a shocking scene happened. The space around the star beads turned dark, as if they had arrived in the starry sky, and only the 7-star of the Big Dipper was shining. Boom! The light of the 7-star crossing was released to the limit, carrying an ancient and eternal aura as it blasted towards Yichun. At that moment, time seemed to be flowing backward, and the stars were surging. What a dangerous killing move! Yichun's expression suddenly changed. His master-level sword intent burst out, and the indestructible sword intent light ignored the rules of the starry sky, shining with its own light, fighting against the lonely darkness. Seeing Li Xiaoyan even use the 7-star crossing, Jing Aoshuan's eyes flashed. She had experienced the power of this move deeply. Before, Li Xiaoyan had used it against her. Fortunately, she was a thunder spirit body, and she also cultivated Thunder Jinyuan, which could not only stimulate her physical activity, but also stimulate her senses, preventing her from being lost in the darkness and losing the will to fight back. It should be known that in the starry sky, there were also thunder and lightning, and thunder would never retreat. She was the same. Apart from her, perhaps only Chu Zhongtian's evil spirit body and evil Yuan could fight against the 7-star crossing head-on. Lose! Li Xiaoyan stared at Yichun, who was swallowed by the 7-star. But then his eyes widened. In his vision, Yichun hadn't been destroyed. The light radiating off of him contained an aura of deathlessness, and it was the darkness that was being destroyed. It was as if, in front of Yichun, other than himself, everything else would die. Only Yichun was eternal and indestructible. The strongest sword intent, the immortal sword intent. Break! With the protection of the immortal sword will, Yichun's eyes were clear. With the amaranthan nature, he pierced through 4 of the 7 stars. Then his body spun, and the reverse sky thunder cut swept upward, destroying the remaining 3 stars. At this point, the 7 stars crossing was destroyed. Who? A gentle breeze blew by, and Yichun reappeared in everyone's sight. He held the greenwood sword vertically in front of his chest, and the sword hilt was at the same level as his chin. The body of the sword was shining with an indestructible sword intent. Outside his body, the immortal aura spread out, and even the weak starlight in the sky was driven away. Moving his body, Yichun stabbed out with the greenwood sword in his hand. It was still the amaranthan nature, but this time it contained the immortal sword intent. With the amaranthan nature and the immortal sword intent, there seemed to be a chemical reaction between the two. In terms of power, it was even more powerful than a 50% profound martial art. Wind barrier. Li Xiaoyan kept extracting the wind power that was sealed in his left arm, creating 3 wind walls in a row. The wind walls were shining with a crystal light and were as hard as diamonds. 1 wall was broken, 2 were broken, and 3 were broken. Yichun's sword aura had been reduced by half. Chin. Putting the greenwood sword back into its scabbard, Yichun said, "I can't beat you." When he was breaking the wind walls, the wind power on Li Xiaoyan's left arm had already recovered to its peak state. It seemed like compared to his right arm, the sealed power in his left arm was easier to replenish, and there was no possibility of it running out. Li Xiaoyan forced a smile. "You are the first sword artist who has forced me into a passive state. Seriously speaking, I have lost." What he meant was that he had lost the sparring, but a life and death battle was another matter. The sky was filled with stars, and the night was about to end. Yichun and Li Xiaoyan both landed on the platform, while Jing Aoshuan and Chu Zhongtian stood there as well. The four of them each took a place, and it seemed like they had divided the platform into four different worlds. One was filled with endless thunder, one was filled with blood, one was filled with stars, and one was filled with sword chi. The four who represented the strongest of the southern region brought a strong visual impact to the audience. Jing Aoshuan raised her head to look at the starry sky and said, "This tea gathering was hosted by me, Jing Aoshuan. Judging from the process, it should be quite satisfactory. Now that the tea gathering is about to end, I will now announce the next host. I wonder who will be the host of the new tea gathering. Edict Prince has already hosted it, so the candidates should be Chu Zhongtian and Yi Chun. Yi Chun also defeated Chu Zhongtian, so I think it will most likely be Yi Chun. Yeah, that makes sense. The tea gathering was a gathering of a younger generation, so the host of each gathering would be chosen by the previous one. For example, the reason why Jing Aoshuan could be the host of this tea gathering was because of the Edict Prince's recommendation. Now, it was Jing Aoshuan's turn to choose the host. As expected, the person Jing Aoshuan chose was indeed Yi Chun. Although Yi Chun wasn't famous before, I believe that after this tea gathering, his name will spread throughout the entire southern region, even to other regions. Therefore, fame is not a problem. As for strength, everyone can see it for themselves. It has been a long time since such a powerful young sword artist has appeared in our southern region, and his sword intent is unparalleled. I believe no one has any objections, right? Hee, Princess Jing must be joking. How can we have any objections? Who doesn't know Yi Chen's strength? No one dares to say that he doesn't deserve to be the next host of the tea gathering. I support Yi Chun. I support him as well. Seeing so many people supporting Yi Chun, Mu Lingfeng was very excited. If he had to describe Yi Chun in one word, it would be all-powerful. Sikong Sheng, who was wearing a black robe, was expressionless. His fists that were hidden in his sleeves were tightly clenched. This time, he had lost again and didn't even manage to exchange blows with his opponent. He didn't know how powerful his opponent would be in the fourth battle. However, he would not give up. Setbacks would only make him fight even harder. Next time, he would enter with a higher status, and his target would be the first knight. The sixth and seventh knights glanced at Sikong Sheng and shook their heads silently. Having such an opponent was Sikong Sheng's misfortune, but it was also his fortune. Only with ambition would there be motivation. Huh, Chu Zhongtian sneered. He didn't care about being the host of the tea gathering, but it didn't mean that he didn't care about losing to others. Today's humiliation would be returned 10 times in the future. In the next tea gathering, he would defeat Yi Chun, who was the host of the tea gathering. That scene would be wonderful. Tuo Baku noticed Chu Zhongtian's expression and frowned slightly. This person should not be underestimated. After 2 years, who knew what level he would reach? His cultivation base was still at the late astral reaching realm, and he hadn't even reached the peak level yet. He didn't know how hard it was to train the evil Yuan, but even a tiny bit of progress would be horrifying. He couldn't help but start to worry about Yi Chun. All of a sudden, Tuo Baku smiled. Damn, why am I worrying about Yi Chun? Of all people, I can't worry about him. Looking at his progress in the past few years, it could only be described as shocking. It would be hard to not be left behind by him. Wanting to surpass him would be extremely hard. In this world, who could be surpassed by Yi Chun? And could he even surpass him? Tuo Baku thought that it was funny and helpless. Jing Aoshuan nodded satisfactorily. Since everyone is supporting Yi Chun to be the host of the next tea gathering, then it's settled. She turned her head and asked Yi Chun, Yi Chun, where will the next tea gathering be held? Yi Chun had already accepted his identity as the next host, so he said with a low voice, let's do it in the Black Dragon Empire in the South River region. The South River region was not like the Thunder region. There was no beautiful garden, and there was no Finger River stage, which was covered in restrictive power. Therefore, instead of choosing a place with a lot of people, it would be better to choose the mysterious mountain range, which had a wide terrain and endless gravity. The endless gravity, there was like a natural restrictive power, which could better reflect one's power and adaptability. Mysterious mountain range. I've heard about it. Not bad. Li Xiaoyan nodded. Chu Zhongtian said lightly, I have no objections. All right, the next tea gathering will be held in the Black Dragon Empire in the South River region. Please go back to your own regions and countries and spread the news as much as you can. Jing Aoshuan did her best. No problem. It sounds like the mysterious mountain range is not bad. Interesting. Before they knew it, the sky had turned bright. Jing Aoshuan took a deep breath and said, "This tea gathering has come to a successful end. If you guys are not in a hurry, you can stay in the Thunder City for a few more days. Perhaps there will be other activities. Plus, you guys can also gather for a tea gathering and get to know each other better." Hearing her, everyone knew that the tea gathering had come to an end, but they were a bit reluctant. They had learned a lot from the tea gathering that lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, and they had even seen the top battles. It was an unforgettable experience for them, who were very proud. I really hope the next tea gathering can come soon. Let's wait. 2 years is not a long time. Closed-up training takes a couple of months. Everyone stood up and left the Mountain River stage while chatting. On the stage, Li Xiaoyan smiled at Yi Chun and said, "Congratulations on becoming the host of the next tea gathering. I hope that we can develop this tea gathering into a whole continent-style tea gathering and let all of the young warriors of this continent come and join our southern regions." The martial tea gathering hadn't been around for a long time. The biggest wish of the founder of the first generation was for the martial tea gathering to spread across the continent. Every time it passed, they would carry on the dream of the founder and contribute to the martial tea gathering, contributing their own strength. Yichun could feel Li Xiaoyan's sincerity, so he nodded seriously. "Yichun, you're not in a hurry to leave, right? The 4 of us can talk more." The one who spoke was Jing Aoshuan. She admired Yi Chun's battling techniques very much. Among the 4, Yi Chun could be considered a master in battle techniques, and it would be beneficial for everyone to talk. Of course, she could also tell that Yi Chun had also comprehended the thunder mentality, and she herself was about to comprehend the thunder profound. Yi Chun said, "Sure, I'm fine." The development of the world required communication, and so did the improvement of one's power. Without communication, there would be no improvement. Building a car behind closed doors was not a very positive way. Chu Zhongtian originally wanted to leave, but after hearing Jing Aoshuan's suggestion, he hesitated a bit and decided not to leave. He was not afraid of not making any progress, but he was afraid that after he left, the 3 of them would make even more progress. If that was the case, he might as well join in. He wanted to see what kind of insights Yi Chun had on battling techniques. Chapter 472. After the tea gathering, Yi Chun and Murong Qingsheng returned to the restaurant. Inside the restaurant's lobby, the 2 were enjoying their morning tea. Yi Chun saw that Murong Qingsheng was absent-minded and kept looking in the northwest direction, so he could not help but ask curiously, "What's wrong with you?" Murong Qingsheng brushed her hair and shook her head. "Nothing." Yi Chun knew that she did not want to talk about it, so there should be some hidden trouble. Moreover, he had noticed that ever since they met in the extreming place, he had noticed that Murong Qingsheng had changed a lot. That kind of change could not be described with words, as if even her essence had changed. Martial tea gathering. Yi Chun, master level sword intent. On this day, the Thunder City was quite popular. Whether it was in restaurants, tea houses, streets, or alleys, these 3 keywords could be heard everywhere. The most common scene was, "Did you know that this year's tea gathering had a huge upset?" An unknown young sword artist had beaten the astral spirit son Chu Zhongtian and tied with the edict Prince Li Xiaoyan, becoming the host of the next tea gathering. His name is Yi Chun. Of course I know. How could I not know? This news has spread like wildfire. Even that little brat from the Wang family knows that Yi Chun is very powerful and wants to take him as his teacher and learn sword arts. This is nothing. I heard that a rank 5 martial school has come to recruit Yi Chun. Rank 5 martial school? Oh my, that is a martial school with a life and death realm warrior. Yi Chun should be able to join, right? Within 1 day, the people who had not heard of Yi Chun in Thunder City were only ignorant kids. Within 3 days, every city within 10,000 miles of Thunder City knew about the result of this tea gathering. If nothing unexpected happened, Yi Chun's name would spread throughout the entire Thunder region in 1 month, and within 3 months, Yi Chen's name would spread throughout the entire southern region. He was only in his 20s, but he had already attained the master-level sword intent. It was impossible for him not to cause a sensation. In the past couple of days, there had indeed been some masters from rank 5 martial institutions who had come looking for Yi Chen, wanting him to join their martial institutions. They had also promised him the head disciple status, which would give him as many profound sense martial arts as he wanted, and the chance to receive guidance from life and death realm warriors from time to time. Of course, the condition was that he had to be loyal enough. Yi Chen politely declined. What a joke. If he chose to join these 5th-grade sects, he might as well join the Dragon God's celestial palace. After all, the palace master was one of the peak kings under Su King. Not to mention, Su Jing was still in the palace. However, these people did not give up. They were prepared to return to the sect and discuss the plan to recruit Yi Chen. If necessary, they could ask the patriarch to help. They believed that the patriarch would not give up on such a terrifying genius. Yi Chen was someone who had raised his sword to master level in his 20s. If they missed this opportunity, they might not get another one. The splendid garden occupied an area of 800 hectares and had many gardens. The mountain and water garden was filled with lakes and mountains. In the middle of the lake, there was a small island, on which was an elegant pavilion. On the highest floor of the pavilion, Yi Chen and the other 3 were drinking tea. Besides the pillars around, there were no walls blocking their view. Therefore, they could easily see the beautiful scenery outside. Great place. Yi Chen could tell that the mountain and water garden had a profound theme. In this place, it would be easy to calm down and enjoy the tea. Li Xiaoyan laughed and said, Yi Chen, these days there should be a lot of rank 5 martial institutions trying to recruit you, right? No wonder. You are not a disciple of a rank 5 martial institution, and you have such a great talent. If you are recruited into the martial institutions, you will definitely be the pillar of the martial institutions in the future. You might even be able to bring the martial institutions to another peak. Among the 4 present, besides Yi Chen, the other 3 all had life and death realm warriors behind them. Therefore, they did not need to worry about these things. Yi Chen smiled. When those rank 5 martial institutions found out that someone from the Sky Cloud Martial School had been taken in as a disciple by the Dragon King, they would definitely not disturb him. After all, few people would believe that the Dragon King would give up on a genius like him, unless he had some ulterior motives. The 4 of them were the top martial geniuses of the southern regions, and had the hope of entering the life and death realm in the future. Therefore, they did not dare to look down on each other. Before they spoke, they would have to think twice. Jing Aoshuan glanced at Chu Zhongtian, who had a deep look in his eyes, and said, The true spirit continent is facing a peak era every 100,000 years, or even longer. We are indeed unparalleled in the southern regions, standing at the peak. But we cannot be short-sighted and be satisfied with the current situation. It would be best if we could communicate with each other. Li Xiaoyan nodded. Princess Jing is right. There are more martial geniuses out there than we can imagine. Inside the southern region, we are competitors. Once we are out there, we will be allies as well. It would be unreasonable for us to not communicate with each other. This time, even Chu Zhongtian did not refute. He knew that Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyan were speaking the truth. He was arrogant, but not to the extent of being the number 1 in the world. In the peak era, he was not the only one with the evil spirit body. There were even more abnormal talents than the evil spirit body. Yi Chen, I might not be able to help you in other areas, but in terms of thunder mentality, I believe that no one in the young generation of the southern regions can compare to me. As the host, Jing Aoshuan knew that she had to take the lead. Otherwise, the other 3 would not volunteer and reveal their experiences. After saying that, she stood up and lightly touched the floor. Her body flew out of the pavilion and landed on the misty surface of the lake. It was a picturesque scene. Reaching out her jade-like right hand, Jing Aoshuan slowly activated her Zhen Yuan and thunder mentality, giving people a clear feeling of being able to see everything clearly. Yi Chen took a deep breath, staring at Jing Aoshuan's right hand without blinking. Swoosh! Lightning bolts shot out from Jing Aoshuan's right hand. What a profound thunder mentality. It was not hard for Yi Chen to tell that she was imagining the birth and death of the thunder. Only she would be able to express the thunder mentality in a more vivid way, which would spark up a lot of inspiration in his mind. He would be able to comprehend it at any moment. Retracting her hand, Jing Aoshuan floated into the pavilion and sat down gracefully. Haha, I can't take advantage of you. My right hand has the star power sealed, which might be helpful to you in the future. Li Xiaoyan laughed as he flew out of the pavilion as well. Hearing him, not only Jing Aoshuan and Chu Zhongtian, even Yi Chen's eyes brightened up. The starry sky was the most mysterious place in the universe. The third of the three heavens, the top sky, was a starry sky. Even life and death realm warriors needed to learn the profound of the starry sky, not to mention them. Only when humans reached the starry sky would they realize how small they were. The star power was very mysterious, seeming to have some kind of weak connection with the stars in the sky. With this weak connection, Li Xiaoyan was able to learn the starry sky mentality and become the #1 warrior among the young generation in the southern regions, and now one of the top 4. The stars are the best place to learn the profound. Jing Aoshuan had the most enlightenment, since her thunder mentality was only one step away from the profound. So, she knew how the starry sky could help her train. What do you think? This is my ace. Li Xiaoyan flew back with a bright face. Yi Chen laughed and said, Since you two are so generous, I can't be stingy either. I will perform a sword art for you guys to see. This sword art is not just a simple sword art, but my personal experience in sword arts. I think it will not disappoint you guys. Oh, let's wait and see. Jing Aoshuan was curious as to what kind of sword art Yi Chen was going to perform. But, judging from Yi Chen's personality, he would not use something simple to fool them. There must be something special about it. Since many Daos were related to martial arts, including sword arts, they were not afraid that they could not see anything. On the sparkling lake surface, Yi Chen in his blue robes drifted with the waves. Taking a deep breath, he slightly closed his eyes. The second he opened them, he moved his right hand and took out the destruction sword. Shoo! 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 The sword light spread out, and the sword chi was extremely sharp. A wave of murderous aura filled the air. This was a killing sword art that pointed directly to the source of killing. In this sword art, you could see the purest meaning of killing. It gave up on impulsiveness, and all that was left was killing. Killing was one of the sources of human evolution. If there was conflict, there would be killing. If there was a martial world, then there would be killing. It was something that existed all the time. Therefore, fighting techniques were included in it as well. Yi Chen sure is generous. Li Xiaoyan mumbled. None of them were idiots. They were all top geniuses. How could they not know that Yi Chen was indirectly revealing the source of his techniques? Without a doubt, if one knew how to kill, then one would know how to fight. This kind of fighting technique would not have any detours, nor would it have any bad habits. It was just the simplest way of fighting. After finishing the sword art, Yi Chen returned to the pavilion. Everyone, how is it? Jing Aoshuan laughed. It is only a sword art, but it has already let me know what I am lacking in battling and what I do not need. Amazing. Yi Chen, you're my friend for sure. Li Xiaoyan knew that Yi Chen could have described the fighting techniques from other simple aspects, but he just had to reveal the source of his techniques, allowing them to have a deeper understanding. Moreover, this understanding was not just a short period of time, but a long period of time. After every battle, they would be able to digest a bit of it, and the importance of it was self-evident. When the three's gazes fell on Chu Zhongtian's face, Chu Zhongtian curled his lips. He had to admit that he had also gained a lot of experience from his killing sword art. He also knew where many of his problems were. He had always thought that his astral essence was strong enough, and that he was at the peak in all aspects. Therefore, he had neglected his techniques. Now, he understood that in fact, qualities existed for the sake of techniques. Of course, techniques also existed for the sake of oneself. I don't have anything else but astral essence threads. After saying that, Chu Zhongtian flew out of the pavilion. Li Xiaoyun said meaningfully. Astral essence threads. This is his ace in the hole. Zhen Yuan and astral essence were both energies, and energies were not rigid or unchanging. Among everyone here, only Chu Zhongtian could turn his astral essence into threads, which would increase his attacking power. From the tea gathering, it could be seen that Chu Zhongtian's achievement in astral essence threads was still not high. Otherwise, the result would be uncertain. Now that he had revealed this ability, it could be seen that he was an honest person. Si, dark red threads of qi rose from Chu Zhongtian's body. He punched out, and everything in front of him turned into nothingness, as if it had been sliced by countless threads. Because Chu Zhongtian had intentionally slowed down his speed, the three of them could clearly see how he had turned his astral essence into threads of energy, and how those threads of energy had exploded out. This speed had been slowed down by 100 times. Swish! Returning to the pavilion, Chu Zhongtian said to Yi Chun, "I don't want to take advantage of you. This astral essence threads is my way of repaying you." Hearing this, Yi Chun smiled. In the northwest horizon, a deep black space crack had appeared out of nowhere. The two ends of the space crack were sharp, and the middle was thick. It looked like an open black eye, and there was nothing but chaos inside. At the same time, the flow of heaven and earth's yuan qi increased, rushing towards that direction. And the four were extremely sensitive to heaven and earth's yuan qi, so they immediately discovered the abnormality. Their gazes passed through the countless buildings, landing on that black crack in the distance. Chapter 473. This is a space crack. Yi Chen's heart skipped a beat. The void-shattering finger needed the space mentality and profound to activate, and the space mentality needed to observe the power of space to comprehend. Although the power of space above the space crack was not as powerful as in the depths of the void, it was not to be underestimated either. Jing Aoshuan's brows twitched. It is indeed a space crack. Let's go take a look. Everyone was curious, especially about the unknown. The four used their movement arts and flew toward the black crack in the northwest. The black crack was huge, as if the sky had been torn open. All the experts within 100,000 li radius could feel the strange space ripple. Some hesitated, but didn't make a move. Some couldn't hold back their curiosity and flew toward the source of the ripple. All of a sudden, people rushed over from all directions. The space crack seemed to be not far from Thunder City, but it was actually outside of the city. It was more than 10,000 li away. It was only because of the mysterious power of space that it didn't seem that far. So many people. By the time the four arrived near the space crack, the place was already packed with people. Low voices of discussion gathered together, as if there were hundreds of thousands of bees flying around. Yi Chen raised his head and saw a black crack hanging in the air. The scale of this crack was astonishing. It was more than 10 li long and a few li high. Not only was the crack filled with pure space power, it also had a frightening black qi. The space power is very pure, but this black qi is not simple. Not only is it faintly restraining Zhen Yuan, it is also guarding against mental power and soul power. For astral-reaching experts, when encountering something unknown, they would definitely use their mental power to probe before daring to make a move. Yi Chen had one more choice than them, which was to use his soul power. However, his soul power could only penetrate a few li deep. It was pitch black inside, and there was a black qi everywhere. He couldn't find anything. Right next to him, Li Xiaoyun said, the surreal space would not shatter for no reason. This space crack is dozens of miles long, and if it was caused by the surreal space shattering, then everything within thousands of miles would be destroyed and turned into an abyss. But this space crack appeared without a sound, and it did not cause any effect. Therefore, this space crack has nothing to do with the surreal space shattering. Jing Aoshuan added, it must be a plane hidden in the depths of the void that collapsed and connected to our world. Plane collapse. Yi Chun frowned. There were two ways to form a plane. One was to split space, and the other was to use the power of space to create a plane. If a plane collapsed, the chaotic power of space would naturally tear through the void, creating spatial cracks of different sizes. Shio, Shio, Shio. A lot of Sea of Soul realm experts had arrived, standing on the nearby mountains. Such a large spatial rift shouldn't have been formed by the collapse of the void. This is definitely a plane that is about to collapse. Plane? Only ancient human experts could create planes out of thin air. There might be something good inside. Do not be blinded by greed. Besides the ones that we already know about and can enter at will, who would dare to enter a strange place? Not to mention the risks of this place, just the fact that it is collapsing is already something that we have to watch out for. Once the whole place collapses, not to mention you and me, even master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors will be torn into pieces by the aggressive space power. It would be impossible to survive. I'm just saying, without 90% confidence, I would not take the risk. As time went on, more and more Sea of Souls realm warriors arrived. Some of them were lone travelers, while others were in groups of 3 to 5. They kept using their soul power to scan the deeper part of the space crack, hoping to find something. Something is coming out from the deep part of the crack. Some of the Sea of Souls realm warriors had their eyes shining as they stared at the space crack in the sky. The crack was pitch black, filled with space power. A spot of light gradually expanded until it was barely visible to the naked eye. It was traveling at an extremely fast speed. Shoo! A dazzling light blossomed, and a red ruler covered with ancient patterns shot out, splitting the nearest mountain in half. Everyone's eyes lit up when they sensed the powerful fluctuations from the treasured weapon. It is a top-rank attacking weapon. Go get it! Someone yelled, waking the others up. They all jumped over with greedy expressions, trying to fight for the ownership of the red ruler. The area around the space crack was completely messed up. Yichen shook his head, not moving at all. Li Xiaoyan and Jing Aoshuan did not join in either, since a top-rank attacking weapon was not worth their time at all. Chu Zhongtian made a face. Reckless. Top-rank attacking weapons were indeed great. An extreme astral-reaching realm warrior would become invincible among the astral-reaching realm warriors with a top-rank attacking weapon. A normal Sea of Souls realm warrior would be able to increase his power to another level as well. But everything had to be supported by power. Without power, it would be suicide. Just as expected, the astral-reaching realm warriors who joined in the fight did not even have the time to be excited before they were killed by the Sea of Souls realm warriors. Once the death count reached a certain number, the other astral-reaching realm warriors who were half a step slower finally realized what was going on and started to back out. The top-rank weapon was like a hot potato for them. Whoever got it would die, and the Sea of Souls realm warriors would be the main characters. Boom, boom, boom. There were a lot of Sea of Souls realm warriors who did not have top-rank weapons. They all rushed over with bloodshot eyes, killing whoever was in their way. In the end, the one who got the red ruler was a spirit realm warrior called Redwood Man. His power was one of the top among all the Sea of Souls realm warriors, and his attacking speed was extremely fast. Plus, he had a couple of friends protecting him, which was how he managed to get the red ruler. Redwood, what do you think of this ruler? One of Redwood Man's friends asked curiously. This is a great weapon from the ancient era. Its power is one level higher than other weapons of the same rank. Plus, its element matches perfectly with my profound sense. With it, my battling power will increase by at least 20%. Redwood Man imprinted his soul mark on the ruler as he said happily. A few of them were shocked. Redwood Man already had a top-rank attacking weapon, so it should not have any flaws. They did not expect that this ancient weapon would be able to increase his battling power by another 20%. The gap between the two was not small at all. You guys don't have to worry. My old top-rank attacking weapon is yours now. As for how to split it, you guys decide. Redwood Man seemed to know how to behave, throwing his attacking weapon to his friends. Around them, some of the Sea of Souls realm warriors who had been eyeing the red ruler were staring at it. It was not that they did not know how precious it was. It was a great weapon from the ancient era, and even the worst one would be better than the current ones. It was a well-known fact. If it were not for the fact that Redwood Man was powerful enough, they would have attacked already. Another prized artifact has appeared. Right then, Another brown-colored iron stick shot out from the space crack. Just like the red ruler, it was also a top-rank attacking weapon. With the experience from last time, there were even more Sea of Souls Realm warriors participating this time, especially those who were very powerful but did not have a good weapon. Boom! A huge palm landed on the ground, blowing away at least 10 Sea of Souls Realm warriors. The iron stick landed in the hands of a middle-aged man in yellow robes. It is a master-level Sea of Souls Realm warrior. Everyone was shocked as they tried to keep their distance. There was a difference of one level between a spirit being and a true spirit being, and another level between a great master and a true spirit being. A normal great master could easily kill a true spirit being even if he didn't have a great treasure. The middle-aged man in yellow held the brown iron stick and waved it around a couple of times. The mountains nearby were immediately shattered into pieces, and the power chi spread everywhere. Not bad. Ancient things are indeed good. The space crack was like a treasure vault with holes, with 1 or 2 weapons flying out from time to time. Among the 10 of them, at least 7 of them were top-rank ones, and 2 or 3 of them were defensive ones. Most of the Sea of Souls Realm warriors did not care much about the attacking ones, but once the top-ranked defensive ones appeared, the scene could only be described as crazy. Under normal circumstances, a defensive artifact was worth 2 offensive artifacts. Especially the higher the grade, the more valuable the defensive artifact would be. Who wouldn't want their own defense to be a bit stronger? That way, they would be able to protect themselves a bit more. The middle-aged man in yellow still wanted to get his hands on the top-ranked defensive weapon that had just flown out. But he was unlucky, as a master-level warrior who had the same power as him had appeared. The two battled fiercely, neither of them willing to give in to the other. In the end, the defensive weapon was taken by the other master-level warrior. Damn, so unlucky. The middle-aged man in yellow had a complicated expression on his face. Oh my god, what kind of rank is it this time? The vibration is so intense. Even the space power has backed away from it. Amidst the rumbling sounds, an axe the size of a small mountain flew out. This axe emitted astonishing fluctuations, and the spatial crack seemed to be pushed open a little. The black aura dissipated, and in the end, the axe flickered with a dazzling light, smashed dozens of mountains into pieces, and split open a deep abyss in the ground, sinking deep into the earth. Feeling unsteady on his feet, Yi Chun exclaimed, "This is an extreme rank weapon." Extreme rank weapons had the title of king-level weapons, because only life and death realm warriors could bring out their full power. In the hands of Sea of Souls realm warriors, they would be able to suck out all of their Zhen Yuan in 2 or 3 attacks. Although there seemed to be only one rank between the two, the difference was not just 1 or 2 times, but more than 10 times. Extreme rank weapons were like the status of life and death realm warriors among the warriors. They were the kings of all weapons, and their power was immeasurable. Surprisingly, no one tried to fight for that hill-sized axe. They would at most stand on the edge of the abyss and look down, not daring to do anything. Back off. This axe belongs to the leader of our shining martial school, the Shining King. Are you kidding me? It belongs to the Beast King. Huh. This place is the closest to the Thunder City. The axe should belong to our Black Thunder King, no matter what. Let's not bring trouble to our martial school. Besides life and death realm warriors, no one would dare to touch the extreme rank weapons. It was just like how astral-reaching realm warriors would not dare to take out their top rank weapons. No, it was 10 times more serious than that. The extreme rank weapons were like a taboo that had to be taken out by life and death realm warriors themselves. This place is going to be messed up soon. Yichen did not know where the life and death realm warriors of the Thunder City had gone, but without a doubt, once they showed up, they would definitely try to take the axe. The other life and death realm warriors would not just stand by and watch. They would definitely fight for it. Chapter 474. After shooting out the extreme rank axe, the space crack no longer shot out anything. Instead, it started to close up and shrink as if it was a wound that was about to be healed. Not good. The crack is about to close up. Within this short period of time, it had shot out 4 mid-rank weapons, 8 top-rank weapons, and one extreme rank weapon. This is a super treasure trove. If we can't go in and have a look, it would be a great regret. Who dares to go in? If it were before, perhaps we could give it a try. But now, the crack is about to close up. Even if we go in, we won't be able to get out. Everyone had a regretful look on their faces as they watched the crack get smaller and smaller. It is not closing up, but turning into a space door, a door that leads to the inside. Most of the people were overjoyed, feeling that this was a great opportunity. If they didn't go in, they would be letting themselves down. Yichen had a deep look in his eyes as he studied the door carefully. The door in the air was 6 meters wide and 12 meters tall. Its surface was slightly transparent, like a pure crystal. Under the sunlight, it reflected a colorful light. There was a tunnel inside the door, and the walls were transparent as well. However, the surface of the wall was covered with a thin layer of black qi, which was still quite shocking to look at. At the end of the tunnel was a thin layer, and no one knew how far it was. This is a rare opportunity. We have a go-in. Someone flew toward the space door and landed inside within a blink of an eye, completely unharmed. Seeing that he was safe and sound, everyone became even more impatient, afraid that if they were late, they would be robbed by others. Soon, more than half of the people had entered the tunnel, and the ones at the front were already close to the thin layer. Should we go in? Li Xiaoyan was a bit hesitant. His instinct told him that it would be very dangerous inside, and he could die at any moment. Jing Aoshuan said, "Let's wait a bit longer. Those Sea of Souls realm warriors have not moved yet." Yichen nodded. Forbidden places were not scary at all. What was scary was this kind of place that did not exist in the main world. It was easy to get in, but hard to get out, since they did not have the power to break through the surreal space. Glancing over at the crowd, Yichen's expression froze. Moreover, among the crowd, a lady with a veil over her face and a purple dress entered the space door without hesitation. She did not even look back once. "Everyone, I will go first." Clasping his fist, Yichen raised his speed to the limit and chased after Zhang Xian. Chu Zhongtian sneered. "Femme fatale," Li Xiaoyan said. "Brother Chu, feelings don't necessarily hinder the progress of martial arts. Since they exist, there must be a reason for them to exist." Chu Zhongtian curled his lips. He only needed women who were obedient to him and attached themselves to him. He didn't need any troublesome women. Yichen didn't think too much about it. He acted according to his heart. If he wanted to go, he went. When he entered the space gate, he could no longer see Murong Qingqing's figure. He spread out his soul power and sensed that Murong Qingqing was 3 to 4 miles away from him. There were hundreds of people between them. Exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Yichen sized up the passage. The passageway was formed from the power of space, and without the berserk and chaotic power of space, it was extremely stable and indestructible. What is going on with this black qi? Yichen realized that the black qi seemed to have its own intelligence. It was struggling with all its might, as if it was trying to escape. Especially when someone passed by, that kind of struggle would become more and more intense. I should be careful. Subconsciously, Yichen walked in the middle of the passageway, trying to keep as far away from the black qi as possible. All of a sudden, a scream was heard from the front. It turned out to be an astral-reaching realm warrior who wanted to surpass the people in front of him. But unexpectedly, the black qi suddenly expanded and sucked him dry, leaving only a layer of gray skin. Even his bones seemed to have been shattered. "Don't get close to the wall. The black qi is weird." Everyone was shocked and tried their best to move closer to the center. It would have been fine if they didn't pay attention before, but once they realized that the black qi could kill people, it would be a huge disaster. In the crowd, people would be knocked onto the wall and die instantly. Only after the number of people decreased did the chaos calm down. I knew it. Yichen's pupils shrank a little, but he had to keep moving forward. No matter how long the passageway was, there would be an end. In front of Yichen was a twisted thin layer, and everyone in front of him had disappeared into it. Taking a step forward, Yichen disappeared into it. Outside of the door, there were less than 100 people left. Half of them were powerful warriors from rank 5 martial institutions, and they were still fighting over the ownership of the axe. It seems like there is no problem with the door. It will not collapse anytime soon. If we don't go in now, we will not get the good stuff anymore. A spirit warrior said, "Indeed, there must be danger in there. But as long as the place does not collapse, it would be no different from a normal forbidden place. Let's go. Let's go." All of the Sea of Souls realm warriors who had been holding back until now started to fly toward the door. "Princess, come with us. Xiaoyan, over here. Zhongqian, let's hurry up." Among the rank 5 martial institutions in the Thunder City were Jing Aoshuan, Li Xiaoyun, and Chu Zhongtian's martial institutions. Under the lead of an inner master, the 3 of them also flew toward the door. Of course, the 3 rank 5 martial institutions each left half of their warriors to guard the axe. All of a sudden, there were only a few rank 5 martial institutions left in the huge place. This was a boundless savage battlefield. Corpses were piled up on the battlefield, and ravines were everywhere. Occasionally, a black aura would turn into a gale and sweep down, accompanied by the wails of ghosts and howls of wolves. Very high up, there was a layer of black sky. The sky was chaotic, suffused with gray and blood. Battlefield. Yichen was shocked. He had thought of all kinds of scenes, but he had never thought of this plane as a battlefield. Plus, this battlefield was way too big. Standing on the high ground, he could not see the end of it at all. All he could see was a desolate and savage chi. Crack! A crisp sound came from under his feet. Yichen lowered his head. It was a huge finger bone that had been crushed. Looking at it, it was about 1 meter long and 6 inches thick. It looked like a human's finger bone. Unfortunately, there was no human that was this tall. If a finger bone was more than 1 meter long, then the person would be at least 10 meters tall. Without looking at the finger bone, Yichen looked around and said with a bitter smile, "It seems like the membrane will arrange the teleportation point according to the time of entry. This is a bit troublesome. Forget it. Since I am already here, I will just take it one step at a time. I think the others will not give up on entering the door." Crushing the finger bone under his feet, Yichen walked down the high ground step by step. There were all kinds of skeletons on the battlefield. Some belonged to humans, some belonged to demonic beasts, and some belonged to giant humans. No, after walking for a while, Yichen realized that these giant humans should not be called humans at all because they had horns on their skulls, and some of them even had wings on their backs. What kind of battle could cause so many creatures to die? Could it be that the ancient times needed to fight all the time, and even created a realm for them to fight? Yichen did not really understand what had happened in the ancient times. He only knew that there were more races in the ancient times than there were now. Some of the corpses, even after hundreds of thousands of years, they still had some residual power. Unfortunately, they were too fragile. Who? Attracted by the blood chi on Yichen's body, a black wind came down from the sky. "I cannot let this black chi catch me." Yichen was shocked. He hurried to perform his movement art and jumped thousands of meters away. The black wind chased after him. Luckily, Yichen was fast enough, and he easily left it behind. When he reached a certain distance, the black wind lost its connection with him and gradually disappeared, returning to the sky. Letting out a breath, Yichen slowed down his steps. Tens of thousands of miles away, a purple figure was walking on the battlefield. It was Morong Qingsheng. She did not look at the corpses on the ground. As if she was being guided, she flew in a certain direction. Her speed soon broke through her limit. Who? The black wind blew across the sky, making a loud noise. However, it did not seem to be interested in Morong Qingsheng's blood chi. Only a small part of the black chi came out and attacked toward her. Shoo! A black light appeared on her body. Morong Qingsheng's speed doubled, and she instantly left the black chi behind. In her pupils, there was also a black light shining. She could easily see the scene hundreds of miles away, as if she had forgotten about the distance between them. Hee, stay here. On the high ground nearby, a man in gray suddenly appeared. He was obviously at the Sea of Souls realm. His body flashed once, and his speed reached 10 times faster than the speed of sound. He reached out his hand to grab Morong Qingsheng, who was flying in the sky. Morong Qingsheng did not slow down at all. She formed a black light ball in her hand and attacked. Boom! With one attack, the man in gray puked out blood and backed out. How is this possible? The man in gray was shocked. Although he was only at the soul realm, he was still not someone that an astral-reaching realm warrior could compete with, not to mention beating him back with one attack and injuring him slightly. Murong Ching-chung lifted up her head and looked at the black wind, then left directly. Behind him, the gray-robed man's blood had attracted a huge amount of black wind, which covered the sky and the earth, covering a range of more than 10 miles. No matter how fast the gray-robed man was, he couldn't escape the attack of the black wind. His powerful protective Zhen Yuan had protected him from being injured, but in the next moment, his face was filled with horror. Within the black chi, a black light swept over and instantly destroyed his protective Zhen Yuan. With a second wave, he was sucked into a gray human skin, and his screams stopped abruptly. After walking for about half an hour, Yichen had not run into a single person. However, the black wind in the sky was surprisingly hard to deal with. It is an extreme rank weapon. In his line of sight, there was a huge skeleton lying on the ground. In its chest was a spear. This spear was 100 meters long and 1 meter thick. Its surface was covered in cracks. The skeleton below had 2 horns on its head and a pair of white skeletal arms under its ribs. It was obvious that it belonged to a different race. Come here. Yichun waved his right hand, and the cracked spear was pulled out quickly, flying over. It is indeed an extreme rank weapon. The vibration coming from it is similar to the extreme rank axe outside. Unfortunately, it is just a broken extreme rank weapon. It does not have any power. Shaking his Zhen Yuan, Yichun threw away the spear and was about to leave. Roar! A shocking roar came from inside the skeleton, and a mass of black chi attacked towards Yichun. Inside the chi, there was a black light shining faintly. Destroy! Taking out the destruction sword, Yichun threw out a sword attack. Pooh! The black chi disappeared. Under the extremely horrifying destruction sword intent, there was no chance for it to fight back. However, the black light inside had only dimmed a little bit, and then it landed on the human skeleton nearby. The human skeleton stood up shakily, its pitch-black eye sockets shining with a black light as it threw out a punch. Chapter 475. This black light seems to have a bit of spirituality, but it is still not that smart after all. Yichun sneered as he held his thunder sword with his left hand, performing his double sword style. The irregular sword light cut the human skeleton into 4 pieces, and the slaughter sword intent on it even destroyed the black light without any hesitation. This human skeleton should be a life and death realm warrior when he was alive. Otherwise, he would not be able to use an extreme rank long spear to kill a huge alien race warrior. So, there should be some spirit power crystal stones inside the skeleton. His eyeballs rolled as Yichun threw out a punch at the 4 pieces of human skeleton. Pah! The skeleton turned into powder, and a red light spot shone faintly. Spirit power crystal stones. There are indeed them. Yichun looked happy as he grabbed the red light spot. There were 3 of them in total, each of them only the size of a soybean, containing a special kind of energy. The parallel space battlefield is unbelievably huge. There must be a lot of life and death realm warriors' bones here. With enough spirit power crystal stones, I might be able to train my spirit body sooner and prepare for reaching the Sea of Souls realm. The biggest difference between Sea of Souls realm warriors and astral reaching realm warriors was the difference in their bodies. No matter how powerful an astral reaching realm warrior was, his body was still a mortal body. However, the body of a Sea of Souls realm warrior was no longer a mortal body, but a spirit body. Not only was the spirit body extremely tough, it was not easy to get hurt, and could also handle even more powerful Zhen Yuan. Otherwise, if an astral-reaching realm warrior had the Zhen Yuan of a Sea of Souls realm warrior, it would most likely shatter. Even if it did not shatter, it would not be able to operate to its limit. The reason why Chu Zhongtian's defense was so powerful was because of his evil spirit body, which trained the evil Yuan. In terms of purity, It was not weaker than the Zhen Yuan of Sea of Souls Realm Warrior. It was almost at the mid-sea of Soul's realm. The evil spirit body could handle the evil Yuan, so its body would naturally be extremely powerful. Even Yi Chun would not be able to injure him badly. The spirit body was hard to train, and the Sea of Souls realm was hard to train. It was a well-known fact. On the other hand, the spirit power crystal stones could allow astral-reaching realm warriors to form the spirit body faster. With the spirit body, reaching the Sea of Souls realm would not take much effort at all. As for the spirit power crystal stones, it was not that they had to be life and death realm warriors to be able to form them. The main reason was that this parallel space battlefield had existed since the ancient era. After hundreds of thousands of years, the spirit power crystal stones formed by Sea of Souls realm warriors had already disappeared. Only life and death realm warriors would be able to leave behind some spirit power crystal stones. But of course, it would not be a lot, and it would depend on luck. After looting the human skeletons, Yi Chun turned his attention to the non-humankind skeletons. Human corpses have spiritual crystals. I wonder what these alien corpses have. Pa. Under the power of Yi Chun's punch, the non-humankind skeletons turned into ashes, and a few black light spots sparkled in the ashes, shining brightly. With a swoosh, the black spots of light landed on Yi Chun's hand. There were 5 black crystals the size of a little finger. The energy contained within them was even stronger than the spirit crystals, but it was not the same kind of energy. Could these non-humankind be demons? Studying the black crystals, a horrifying thought appeared in Yi Chun's mind. The Battle King had never seen any demons in his life. Perhaps it was because there were no demons in the information he had given to Yi Chun. But the Battle King had seen the skeletons of demons in some forbidden places and had obtained black crystals from them. These black crystals were similar to the spirit power crystal stones and were called demon power crystal stones. Unfortunately, humans could not use them. Demons are extremely powerful. They are a race that is even more powerful than humans. It seems like the two races used to have a huge war in the ancient era. Yi Chun did not care much about it. No matter how powerful the demons were, they were already a pile of skeletons and could not do anything to him. Right now, there was no news about demons in this true spirit continent. After obtaining the spirit power crystal stones and the demon power crystal stones, Yi Chun continued walking, wanting to see if there were any other life and death realm warrior skeletons. There are spirit power crystal stones inside these skeletons. They must be the skeletons of life and death realm warriors. There were a lot of warriors who had entered the parallel space battlefield. Besides most of the astral-reaching realm warriors who were struggling to avoid the Black Wind, the rest of the Sea of Souls realm warriors were not in any life-threatening danger. Some of the lucky ones had even found spirit power crystal stones inside the skeletons of life and death realm warriors. With enough spirit power crystal stones, my spirit body would be able to reach the next level. This is indeed a good place. Then what are we waiting for? Let's continue to search for more life and death realm warrior skeletons. This parallel space battlefield is so huge, so it would be impossible for there to be only one. There should be a lot of them. You are right. Let's not waste any more time. Let's move now before the others find us. As time went on, more and more people had found spirit power crystal stones. Of course, most of them were Sea of Souls realm warriors. Astral-reaching realm warriors had entered the parallel space battlefield, but they were still very nervous. They did not even have the time to save their own lives, not to mention the fact that it was not that easy to find life and death realm warrior skeletons. The 9th Spirit Power Crystal Stone. Shattering a life and death realm warrior skeleton, Yi Chun had gotten another 2 Spirit Power Crystal Stones, making it 9 in total. There is another life and death realm warrior's skeleton 70 miles away. Yi Chun's soul power could radiate out for almost 100 miles. 70 miles to the east, there was a huge demon's skeleton lying on the ground. Right next to it was a human life and death realm warrior skeleton. Besides that, There was also a 3-meter-tall human skeleton that caught Yi Chen's attention. Shoo! Flashing his body, Yi Chen flew over. Arriving at his destination, Yi Chen did not say anything as he released his fist power, shattering the 3 skeletons into powder. The red spirit power crystal stones and the black demon power crystal stones fell into the pile of ashes. What a huge spirit power crystal stones! In the ashes of the life and death realm warrior, Yi Chen found 5 spirit power stones, 3 of which were the size of soybeans, 1 of which was the size of a pinky finger, and the last one was the size of a thumb. The energy inside was so rich that it was equivalent to 5 normal-sized spirit power stones. The demon power crystal stones inside the demon skeleton did not change much. They were still the size of a pinky finger, and there were 2 of them in total. As for that 3-meter-tall human skeleton, it surprised Yi Chen because it was not the spirit power crystal stones inside, but the demon power crystal stones. They were the same amount as the spirit power crystal stones, 5 of which were the size of a thumb, and 1 of which was the size of a longan. Is this also a demon's man? Yi Chen guessed to himself. Dozens of miles away, a human figure had his eyes on Yi Chen. My luck is not bad. I can't believe I ran into a fat sheep. His power is only at peak level late astral reaching realm. It seems like this parallel space battlefield is my fortune. I have to make good use of it. The human figure sneered. Shoo! He turned into a beam of light and shot out. Someone is here. Activating his soul power at all times would consume too much energy. Therefore, normally he would keep his alert range within 5 miles at most. This way, even if someone suddenly appeared, he would have enough time to react, adjust his state, and counterattack. The incoming person was extremely fast. Within a couple of breaths, he had already appeared 100 steps away from Yi Chen. Brat, you are not running? It seems like you are quite smart. You know that you can't outrun Sea of Souls realm warriors. That's good too. It will save me a lot of time and effort. Hand over the spirit power crystal stones and that black crystal stone. I am in a good mood, so I might let you go. It was a middle-aged man wearing a yellow battle robe. He had a strong body, sharp eyes, and a sneer on the corner of his mouth. Yi Chen stood in the middle of the ashes and said coldly, Why should I give it to you? Obviously, he did not expect Yi Chen's attitude to be this tough. It seemed like he did not care about him at all. In fact, he could even see a trace of disdain in Yi Chen's eyes. Boom! The ground under his feet sank a little bit. The man in yellow robes said with a creepy voice, I was planning to leave your body intact, but it seems like there is no need for that. Die! The dark red soil exploded, and a huge blade appeared in the man's hand. It had the vibration of a top-rank great weapon, which was extremely heavy. It was like a huge mountain had been compressed into it. With the power of the mountain, the blade sliced through the sky and attacked at an extremely fast speed. Yi Chen held 3 swords with his right hand at the same time. He shook his Zhen Yuan, and the 3 swords stuck together. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen waved out a sword. Boom! The ground shook a couple of times, and a couple of pitch-black ravines appeared on the ground. The man in yellow robes was blown backward in disbelief, a trace of blood leaking out of the corner of his mouth. What's going on? I am a soul warrior, but I cannot beat a peak-level late astral-reaching realm warrior, even though he is also holding a top-rank great weapon. The man in yellow robes looked at Yi Chen with a serious expression on his face. Yi Chen looked at the long swords that were stuck together and thought to himself, Zhen Yuan strings are indeed useful. Only a normal sword attack could force back a soul warrior. The evil Yuan strings that Chu Zhongtian had revealed were indeed hard to train, but one should not forget that Yi Chen's original soul was unparalleled. Even Sea of Souls realm warriors might not be able to compete with him. Plus, this evil Yuan string, or Zhen Yuan string, was just a very difficult skill, not a powerful martial art. It will be much easier to learn. Therefore, right now, Yi Chen had already mastered the Zhen Yuan string ability, which would allow him to perform even more powerful attacks. Brat, you indeed have some power, but it ends here. With a roar, the man in yellow performed his profound sense martial art, throwing out a blade attack at an extreme speed. 70%. Yi Chen's eyebrows flicked as he threw out the ninth movement of his green lotus sword art, Amaranth in nature. Combined with his master-level sword intent, it was as fast as a shooting star, clashing with the blade. Pooh! A huge mouthful of blood was puked out, mixed with bits of flesh. The man in yellow was shocked to the core. Not good. I have run into a tough one. Perhaps he is a true dragon-level martial genius from the tea gathering? He had heard that a true dragon-level martial genius could compete with a soul warrior, but today was the first time he had seen one. He could not help but curse his bad luck. You can leave your life here. Yichen did not give the man in yellow the chance to escape. He used his body as a sword and appeared on his right side, performing his amaranthine nature once again. Forgive people when you can. You will not have a good ending if you go too far. The man in yellow robes roared as he lifted up his blade to block out the attack. Shoo! The tip of the sword was lifted up slightly. The long sword brushed past the blade and pierced through the man's neck, bringing out a long stream of hot blood. Pulling out the sword, Yi Chen said lightly, "This is your ending." The man in yellow robes had his eyes wide open as he fell onto the ground. Shoo! The storage ring on his finger was sucked into Yi Chen's hand. Without even looking, Yi Chen threw it into his own storage ring before turning to leave. A spiritualist had died, just like that. Chapter 476. Corpses were piled up all over the place. Not far away, there was a dark red mountain peak that had lost its edges and was in a state of weathering. Inside the mountain, there was a spacious cave, and Yi Chen was sitting cross-legged on a huge rock in the middle of the cave. There are a lot of Sea of Souls realm warriors in the parallel space battlefield. With my current power, I might not be able to survive against spirit warriors and master-level warriors. I should try to increase my power first. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen took out the man's storage ring. There were a couple of manuals inside, but there were no top-rank Earthrealm manuals. There were 4 mid-rank weapons, hundreds of thousands of mid-rank spirit stones, and 8,000 top-rank spirit stones. Besides that, there were also 4 spirit power crystals and 3 demon power crystals. As for the top-rank blade of the man in yellow, Yi Chen had already put it into his own storage ring. 18 spirit power crystals. I wonder if I can train my spirit body to 1/3 completion. Yi Chen looked down at his open left hand. There were 18 red crystals, one the size of a thumb, one the size of a pinky, and 16 the size of beans. Normally, the spirit power crystals inside the life and death realm warriors should be enough for Yi Chen to train his spirit body. But after hundreds of thousands of years, not only had there been a lot of spirit power crystals, but the energy inside had also almost dissipated. It could not even compare to the bones of Sea of Souls realm warriors who had been dead for hundreds of years. Flipping his hand, there was still a bean-sized spirit power crystal left in his palm. Yi Chen closed his eyes slightly, trying his best to absorb the energy inside. As the red energy entered his body, Yi Chen could not help but moan. What a strange feeling. His body felt like it had been dry for a long time, and he was trying his best to absorb the red energy without having to control it all. After absorbing 1 spirit power crystal, Yi Chen started on the second one. After half an hour, there was only 1 spirit power crystal left out of the 18, and the rest had all been absorbed. At the same time, a slight change had happened to Yi Chen's body. A light red halo appeared on the surface of his body, vibrating at a speed that could not be seen by naked eyes. Without any hesitation, Yi Chen continued to absorb the last thumb-sized psionic crystal. This psionic crystal contained 6 times the energy of a normal psionic crystal. The red energy was like a raging river, flowing through his arm and into his body. It began to spread, covering his entire body, even his head. The faint red halo on Yi Chen's body became several times brighter, dyeing his hair and clothes red. He was full of vitality. Another hour passed, and the red halo became fainter and fainter. In the end, it was absorbed by the body, and it was hard to notice from the outside. Opening his eyes, 2 beams of red light shot out. Yi Chen said to himself, "It's worse than I thought. The essence of spiritual energy is almost completely gone." What's left is the thinnest spiritual energy. The most precious part of a psionic crystal was its essence. These 18 psionic crystals contained a lot of energy, but unfortunately, there were only a few strands of essence. But I can feel that my body's power has increased a lot. Plus, I have trained the pure Jade body boosting spell, so it should be equivalent to 1/3 of my spirit body. After reaching the peak level of late astral reaching realm, the physical advantage brought by the pure Jade body boosting spell would not be that great anymore. It would only be a bit more power than the others. But a little advantage was still an advantage, since the process of training the physical body was actually the same as training the spirit body. My Zhen Yuan has become lively. Training the spirit body has this effect? The lively Zhen Yuan was the best time to make a breakthrough. Yichen did not dare to waste any time, so he closed his eyes immediately. The Zhen Yuan in his dantian started to circulate according to the 13th realm of the Green Lotus Sword spell, one round after another. He was waiting for the chance to make a breakthrough, which would be the 14th realm of the martial art. Not knowing how long had passed, the whole dark red mountain started to shake. That sharp chi spread out from the mountain peak. It even tore open a huge crack in the black chi in the sky, which did not disappear for a long time. The next second, a huge illusory green lotus wrapped the mountain peak up. The green lotus blossomed, and a sword sound could be heard continuously, as if a great sword was about to come out of its scabbard. Such a powerful sword chi. Someone is making a breakthrough. 100 miles away, 3 human figures suddenly stopped moving, looking towards the dark red mountain peak where Yichen was. Although the sword chi is powerful, the Zhen Yuan chi is not that powerful. Let's go check it out. Shoo! 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 The 3 turned into beams of light, flying at an extreme speed. Soon, the 3 arrive a couple of miles away from the mountain peak, staring at that blooming, illusory green lotus without blinking. This is the top of the top rank Earth Realm sword spell. If I can get it and train it to the same realm, my power will double. The sword artist in dark green robes had his pupils shrunk as he laughed out loud. The elder in black next to him stroked his beard. Even top-rank Earth Realm martial arts have different levels. This is indeed a top-rank martial art. Plus, it is a sword spell trained by a sword artist. It is way better than the high-rank Earth Realm martial art you are training. The sword artist in green said with determination, I can take less of the other things, but this sword spell, I want it. You two don't have any objections, right? The bald, middle-aged man grinned. It would be useless for us to take the sword spell. But he might not have the sword spell with him. He might have already destroyed it. Then I will pry open his mouth and make him spit it out one word at a time. Anyway, it is not like I have never imprisoned warriors before. The sword artist in green smiled creepily. The 14th level of the Green Lotus Sword spell is so powerful. The Zhen Yuan is so pure. Plus, the Zhen Yuan core is embedded in a green lotus seed. Yichen opened his body and realized that his Zhen Yuan was much purer than before, like a flowing green liquid. The biggest change was still inside his dantian. A green crystal-like lotus seed was floating in the middle, and in the center of the seed was the green egg-like Zhen Yuan core. The core was shining with a green halo, and the 9 green lotus sword chi that was rotating around the Zhen Yuan core started to merge together, gradually turning into one. The density of the sword chi increased rapidly, and eventually became a lotus seed, which was embedded in one of the many small holes on the surface of the seed. Lotus seed, lotus seed. The 14th level of the Green Lotus Sword spell had been completed. I wonder how powerful the Lotus Heart Sword chi is. Yichen raised his head, as if he could see the scene outside. He sneered, You will see it soon. Outside the dark red mountain peak, the sword artist in green robes held his sword with both of his hands and hacked down heavily. Break! Crack! The mountain peak was split in half, and the cut was as smooth as a mirror. The second the mountain peak was split open, the sword artist in green saw Yichen flying up. The latter smiled at him, reached out his right hand, and flicked his finger. Shoo! The lotus seed-shaped sword chi shot out like a flat bullet. Danger! The sword artist in green robes felt his scalp go numb. He wanted to dodge, but his reaction speed was still a bit slow. The sword chi pierced through his forehead, leaving a small hole. The elder in black and the bald middle-aged man were watching from the side, waiting to see how the sword artist in green was going to kill Yi Chun. However, the result shocked them. The sword artist in green had fallen down after only one attack. That pinky-sized sword chi was unbelievably fast, and it was a one-hit kill. Looking for death, the elder in black thought that the sword artist in green was too careless, so he was enraged. He threw out a claw attack towards Yi Chun. Chin! Taking out the destruction sword, Yi Chun activated his pure Jin Yuan and flashed once, appearing in front of the elder in black. He held the thunder sword in his left hand and attacked out with the destruction sword in his right hand. His body was split into 4 pieces, and the elder in black had died. Impossible! He is only at the peak level of late astral reaching realm. The bald middle-aged man's face was filled with astonishment, and his face contorted. Run! Without thinking, the middle-aged man performed his movement art and escaped at an extreme speed. Amaranthine nature. Putting the thunder sword and the destruction sword back into their scabbards, Yi Chun took a deep breath and stabbed out with his sword. The sword chi spilled out. Dang! Sensing the sword chi with his soul power, the middle-aged man hurried to turn around and waved his stick. Burning sparks covered his whole body. Not good. The middle-aged man could only feel his chi and blood flowing in reverse, and his internal organs being shattered. A mouthful of blood mixed with pieces of flesh spurted out, and it did not stop for a long time. By the time the middle-aged man recovered his chi and blood, Yi Chun was already 10 steps away, waving his sword down. Swoosh! The middle-aged man had died. Reaching out his hand and sucking the storage ring into his hand, Yi Chun shook his head. He thought to himself, the power of the Soul Realm warriors is not the same, and these few are too weak. I wonder what rank I would be in the Soul Realm. Yi Chun had never thought that he could compete with Spirit Realm warriors. What a joke. Spirit Realm warriors had already trained their martial arts to completion, and had even learned the profound. How could he fight against them? Not to mention one Yi Chun. Even 3 or 5 of Yi Chun would not be able to compete with Spirit Realm warriors. Fighting 2 realms higher than him was not something that could be said casually. Of course, with his Green Lotus Sword spell trained to its 14th realm, his body had produced a Lotus Heart sword chi. Therefore, he was not afraid of most of the Soul Realm warriors anymore. Only those who were close to the Spirit Warrior level would have to be careful, since these people were extremely powerful. Time to find Morong. Relying on his intuition, Yi Chun picked a direction and flew out. Thousands of miles in front of Yi Chun, in a sunken area, Murong Qingsheng was facing a life and death crisis. Her opponents were 2 Spirit Realm warriors. There is a huge difference in power between Spirit Realm warriors, and normal Spirit Realm warriors would not even be able to handle one attack from her. However, these 2 were definitely powerful warriors. Their martial arts were all trained to completion, and their profound martial arts had also reached 50% completion. As long as they could learn a little bit of the profound, they would be able to reach Spirit Realm. If it were not for the fact that she had finally trained her bloodline to perfection and increased her power by half, she would have been dead already. Flying Sky Assassination Cut. With a heavy wound on her back, Murong Qingsheng puked out a huge mouthful of blood. She threw out an attack at the middle-aged man in front of her. The middle-aged man did not dare to underestimate her, so he threw out a blade attack to meet her attack. Boom! The mountains around the 2 shattered, and a massive light ball exploded. Am I going to die here? Blood kept spurting out of her mouth as Murong Qingsheng revealed a self-mocking smile. The short old man who had not been doing anything said, "Don't resist. With the 2 of us working together, no Spirit Realm warrior would be able to survive. Although your power is not much weaker than ours, it is impossible for you to turn the tables. Just give up." Black light spread out on the surface of her body as Murong Qingsheng tried her best to maintain her injuries. She reached out her right hand and condensed a black light ball. The black light ball exploded and shot out in a fan shape, increasing its power. The two originally thought that the black light ball did not have much power, but who would have thought that the light attack actually contained a soul attack, causing their minds to become muddled. Fortunately, the power of the soul attack was limited, so the short old man immediately woke up. With an ugly expression, he said, "I almost failed miserably. I didn't think that the profound martial art you've learned actually contained a soul attack. Unfortunately, you've only learned the tip of the iceberg. Otherwise, I would have died in your hands. Blade Scar, let's kill her together." Chapter 477. There is an energy vibration up ahead. It is Murong Qingcheng battling with someone else. Hundreds of miles away, Yi Chen's speed suddenly increased as he sensed Murong Qingcheng's qi. From afar, Yi Chen could see the sunken ground. Inside the sunken ground, the short elder and the middle-aged man were attacking Murong Qingcheng together. Both of them had the power of peak-level soul warriors, but they were still at early sea of Soul's realm, which was not that powerful. Taking out his destruction sword, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack, the sword chi looking like a rainbow. The short elder reacted very fast, waving his palm to block out the sword chi. But the attacking power still made him back out dozens of steps, wobbling uncontrollably. Shoo! After a couple of flashes, Yi Chen appeared right next to Murong Qingcheng. "Are you okay?" Seeing that Murong Qingcheng was badly wounded, Yi Chen frowned. A smile appeared on Murong Qingcheng's face as she shook her head. "If you were one step too late, I would have been in trouble." Then she coughed out another mouthful of blood, dyeing her clothes red. "Brat die." The middle-aged man held his blade with both of his hands, waving it down heavily. The blade light covered both of them, planning to kill them all at once. Yi Chen's eyes flashed as both of his swords attacked back and forth. Swoosh! The massive light ball exploded, and the depth of the crater increased from hundreds of meters to thousands of meters, looking like a deep, hemispherical pit. The middle-aged man could not handle the power of Yi Chen's attack, and his whole body was blown away for thousands of meters, cutting off half of the mountain. "This brat is tricky." The short elder's pupil shrank. He knew about the middle-aged man's power. Besides some of the freakishly powerful soul warriors, almost no one would be able to compete with him. Plus, the middle-aged man had trained the Earth mentality, which was known for its powerful power. Even with that, he could not handle Yi Chen's attack, which showed how hard Yi Chen was to deal with. The middle-aged man flew back, his face a bit pale. He licked his lips as he stared at Yi Chen with a serious and murderous look. The short elder said, "Blade Scar, do your best." The knife-scarred man sneered. "Don't worry, he can't hurt me. Try to recover from your injuries first. Leave them to me." Yi Chen could see that Murong Qingcheng's injuries were recovering at an extremely fast rate. This kind of recovery speed was very abnormal, but when he thought about the many secrets Murong Qingcheng had, the abnormality seemed normal. Murong Qingcheng nodded. All right. She was clear that if she didn't recover to a certain degree, she would only be a hindrance if she went up. Moreover, she was surprised to find that Yi Chen's strength had reached a whole new level. He was even stronger than when he was in the tea gathering. "Kid, you alone aren't enough." The short elder heaved a sigh of relief. If it was one-on-one, he would not have the confidence to defeat Yi Chen. But if it was two-on-one, the difficulty would be reduced by several times. He was afraid that Murong Qingcheng would disregard her injured body and join hands with Yi Chen. If that happened, the outcome would be unpredictable. Yi Chen's expression didn't change. "We'll know once we try. Go." Without any nonsense, the short elder and the knife-scarred man attacked Yi Chen from the left and right. One performed a palm art, while the other performed a blade art. Their teamwork was perfect. Ding, ding, dang, dang. Yi Chen was not afraid at all. He held the thunder sword in his left hand and the destruction sword in his right, splitting his mind and fighting against the two alone. What? Dual sword style. After a round of attacks, the short elder could not help but exclaim in a low voice after seeing that he could not do anything to Yi Chen. Before, when Yi Chen had sent the knife-scarred man flying with his dual swords, he already had some doubts. Now, he was finally sure that Yi Chun was a rare dual sword style sword artist, able to split his mind and attack with ease. With an ugly expression, the short elder yelled out. Both of his hands turned into ghostly fire claws as he threw out 18 palm strikes. Each palm strike contained a powerful fire mentality, exploding violently. The knife-scarred man did not dare to be careless either. His dirt-yellow heavy blade carried a dense earth mentality as he slashed out diagonally and vertically, each strike fatal. Break! With a thunderous roar, Yi Chun jumped up. The Sky Thundercut and the Reverse Sky Thundercut attacked from the left and right respectively, giving people the feeling that there were two Yi Chun overlapping on top of each other, which was extremely strange and horrifying. Pap! 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 The sound of explosions never stopped. The three separated from each other from time to time and clashed together from time to time. It was a dazzling scene. Get down here. The knife scar man suddenly reached out his left hand. A powerful gravity covered Yi Chun, pulling him down at an extremely fast speed. Gravity, cut without any mistakes. A piercing cold light flashed through his eyes as Yi Chun gave up on the dual sword style and combined 3 swords into one. One sword contained the destruction sword intent as it sliced out horizontally, forming a perfect circle. A full moon appeared, and the gravity was split in half. The knife scar man was shocked. Even gravity can be cut open? Who the fuck can tell me what is going on? What's going on? Idiot. Who told you to use gravity attack? The short elder had made up his mind to use all of his power to exhaust Yi Chun. He did not believe that Yi Chun would be able to keep it up. Multitasking was extremely taxing, and it was not just 1 or 2 times, but at least a few times. However, seeing the knife-scarred man use gravity attack, and Yi Chun switch from dual sword style to single sword style, he could not help but grind his teeth in anger. The knife-scarred man said impatiently, "Who the fuck knew that he could cut the gravity? What a freak." Never mind. It is good that he is not multitasking. With just one sword, he would not be our opponent. The short elder did not want to argue with the knife-scarred man, so he took the initiative to back off. Holding the top-rank long sword with 3 swords combined into one, Yi Chun threw out a sword attack, performing the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword art, Amaranth in nature, towards the short elder. Not good. It is a 50% profound sense martial art. Although profound sense martial arts had different levels of power, it was very easy to tell before learning the profound sense, especially when it was at 50%, which was very close to the profound sense. The speed of the sword chi was way too fast, and it was getting faster and faster. It was already impossible to dodge it. The short elder only had time to set up a defensive layer in front of him. Pooh! The defensive layer was shattered, and the short elder's shoulder was bleeding profusely. Piss off. The knife-scarred man's attack had arrived. The 100-meter-long blade, Chi, was like a falling jade pillar, slashing towards Yi Chun's head. Shoo! Sparks were brought up as Yi Chun waved his sword to block out the blade Chi. I want you dead. Seizing the opportunity, the short elder did not care about the sword wound on his shoulder anymore. He grabbed the air with his right hand, and a huge flame hand was about to wrap around Yi Chun. Shoo! 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 Even more sparks were brought up. Yi Chun put more power into his arm, and the long sword and the blade Chi brushed past each other. He then immediately cut open the huge flame hand and jumped out from the gap. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. It was so fast that it was beyond the limits of one's vision. The blade Chi dimmed a little, and the knife-scarred man's blade momentum changed from a vertical chop to a horizontal chop. The blade Chi followed closely behind Yi Chun, trying to cut him in half. Bang! For no reason, the blade Chi was shattered. Murong Qing Sheng, whose clothes were stained with blood, dashed over. Soul Destruction Wave. The black light ball in her left hand exploded, and a fan-shaped black shock wave spread out. Oh no! The short elder and the knife-scarred man dodged to the side at the same time. Although this black shock wave could not do anything to them, their minds would be muddled for a moment. If it were before, they would not care about it. But now, They had to deal with an extremely troublesome Yi-Chun. The short elder dodged the radiation of a shock wave, but because the knife-scarred man's blade, chi, and blood were shaken, his reaction was a little slower. When Murong Qingchang came over, Yi-Chen's mind was sharp, and he quickly approached the two of them. Therefore, the knife-scarred man's momentary sluggishness did not escape Yi-Chen's senses. He stabbed out with his top-grade longsword. Dang! That moment was too short. The knife-scarred man raised his blade to block the attack at the critical moment. His right hand that was holding the blade cracked, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. Reverse sky thundercut. In the eyes of others, Yi-Chen's sword art was unpredictable, and it was not without reason. He held the scabbard at his waist with his left hand and slashed upwards. Scabbard. The knife-scarred man's face flashed with disbelief. Uft. The scabbard hit the knife-scarred man's chin, and the force went in. Knife scar. The short elder dodged the black shockwave, and he saw Yi-Chun hit the knife-scarred man's chin with the scabbard. Then he saw the life force in the knife-scarred man's eyes disappear, and he fell from the sky. Gritting his teeth, the short elder looked at Yi-Chun and Murong Qingcheng with hatred, and turned into a stream of ghostly light. Sky Demon Power Field. Murong Qingcheng's right hand reached out and pulled back, and a horrifying gravitational force appeared, pulling the short elder's body. However, Murong Qingcheng's Jin Yuan was far from the short elder's, and she could only slow him down a little, but it was enough. Turning around, Yi-Chun flicked his finger at the short elder. It was the Lotus Heart sword chi that could recover once every half an hour. Pooh! The short elder's heart was pierced through, and he died immediately. Seeing the short elder die, Murong Qingcheng let out a sigh of relief. It had been too short, and her injuries had not fully recovered yet. She had just barely managed to do that. Putting the long sword back into the scabbard, Yi-Chun flew over, frowned, and said in a low voice, "Murong, are you one of the demons?" It was no wonder that he asked this. When fighting with the short elder and the knife-scarred man, he had noticed that Murong Qingcheng used crystals to recover her injuries, and those crystals were not spirit crystals, but demon crystals, which made him suspicious. Murong Qingcheng seemed to know that Yi-Chun would ask this. "You saw it?" Yi-Chun nodded. "If I said I'm not, would you believe me?" Yi-Chun thought about it. "Of course I would. Thank you. I am indeed not one of the demons, but I am related to the demons." Murong Qingcheng said, "You are related to the demons?" Yi-Chun was even more confused. Among the information that the Battle King had given him, there was nothing about the demons, so he knew nothing about them. Murong Qingcheng continued to say, "The demon race is a race that is above the human race. However, after the ancient times, there were no traces of the demon race anymore. But the demon race left behind a race with their bloodline. This race, I am the family that I belong to, and I have the bloodline of this family." Thinking about how low-key Murong Qingcheng used to be, Yi-Chun said, "If this is a big deal, you should not say it. I will understand. Actually, it is okay to say it. Those life and death realm warriors all know about my family, and half of them are not against us living in this land. Of course, the other half wants to kill my family, and they are just waiting for the right opportunity." Murong Qingcheng laughed at herself. "My family is called the Demon family, and all of my family members have the Demon bloodline." Chapter 478. The human demon bloodline is a hybrid bloodline of humans and demons. It has the appearance of humans and a physique close to that of demons. As for whether it is suitable to cultivate Jin Yuan or demon power, it depends on which bloodline is more suitable. If there is more human bloodline, then it is suitable to cultivate Jin Yuan. If there is more demons, then it is suitable to cultivate demon power. If there is the same amount, then both can be cultivated. This is the so-called perfect human-demon bloodline. Murong Qingcheng explained. Yi-Chun pondered and said, "Why didn't I feel anything strange about you before? It seems that after meeting you in the land of extreme negative energy, you have changed." Nodding, Murong Qingcheng said, "The first generation of human demons all had the perfect human-demon bloodline. However, with the disappearance of demons, the passage of time, and the intermarriage between human demons and human demons caused the demon's bloodline in the next generation to become less and less. Instead, there's more and more human demons' bloodline. So much so that without a secret test, it is impossible to tell whether there is demon's bloodline or not. And the lack of demon's bloodline makes our people almost no different from human demons, unless we can awaken and stimulate the demon's bloodline in our body. Then you awakened. What's the deal with refining demonic energy crystal stones? Yes, Murong Qingsheng let out a breath. In order to prevent the demon's bloodline from becoming less and less, our people adopted the rule of intermarriage within the race. Human demons must marry human demons. In this way, if the children inherit most of the demon's bloodline from their parents, the demon's bloodline in their body will be stronger than the previous generation. Of course, no matter how strong it is, it will not be more than half. Approaching half is already very rare. After I awakened, the demon's bloodline in my body is approaching half. The planar battlefield is an opportunity, allowing my demon's bloodline to reach half, and I have the perfect human demon bloodline. Therefore, whether it is spirit energy crystal stones or demonic energy crystal stones, I can refine and absorb them, and I chose demonic energy crystal stones. Listening to Murong Qingqing's words, Yichen expressed his understanding. Whether it was demons or human race, they respected the strong. No one would want to be stronger. Obviously, demons were a race above human race. It was normal for them to choose to refine demonic energy crystal stones. If it was him, he would do the same. Refining demonic energy crystal stones won't make me develop into demons, right? Yichun saw demons' bloodline at least 3 meters tall, and most of them were tens or even hundreds of meters tall. He didn't want Murong Qingsheng. Murong Qingsheng smiled and said, "The human demon bloodline is the human demon bloodline. The appearance of a human won't change, but refining the demonic energy stone will give me some of the abilities of the demons. I'll have to wait until I cultivate my demon body to know about this ability." Yi Chun had no intention of getting to the bottom of the matter, such as how Murong Qingsheng came to possess the perfect demonic bloodline. The fact that Murong Qingsheng was willing to tell him these things showed that she trusted him. Yi Chun opened his palm, and a dozen magical energy stones appeared in his hand. "I have no use for these. Here, this is for you too." Murong Qingsheng took out all the psionic crystals. The two of them smiled at each other and exchanged glances. "When I'm with you, I feel very relaxed." Unfortunately, Murong Qingsheng wanted to say something, but stopped. Yi Chun sighed inwardly. "Let's talk about the future in the future. The most important thing is to grasp the present. You know that strength is the shortcut to controlling your own destiny." Yes, you're right. The two of them did not stay for long. After leaving the hollow, they found a relatively hidden mountain peak and opened up 2 adjacent caves. Then, they began to refine the psionic crystals and magical energy stones. 1 day passed. Yi Chen's spiritual body was roughly halfway completed. Before he achieved the spiritual body, the efficiency of the psionic crystals would decrease the further he cultivated. Once he achieved the spiritual body, the effectiveness of the psionic crystals would increase again. This was related to his physique, which he did not have at the moment. As for Murong Qingsheng, she did not have this problem. She had the demonic bloodline, and her physique was that of a demonic physique, which was several times stronger than a normal human's physique. However, it was also because of this that the magical energy stones she needed were several times more than a human's. So far, she had only cultivated a quarter of her demonic body. Murong Qingsheng, who had cultivated a quarter of her demonic body, did not seem to have changed much. Only Yi Chun could see that her temperament was becoming more and more noble and alluring. Her skin had also become fairer, and it was hard to find any flaws with the naked eye. After refining the psionic crystals and mana crystals, the two of them spent an extra day consolidating the mana crystals to prevent unnecessary wastage. On this day, Murong Qingsheng opened her eyes. A black light flashed in her pupils. She looked down and saw that she had not changed out of her bloodstained clothes. She stood up and walked to the cave wall in the corner. She pressed her palm on it. Without a sound, the mountain rock in front of her palm turned into powder, and a spherical stone room appeared. Walking into the stone room, a black ball of light naturally appeared outside her body. The black ball of light could even swallow light, and it was impossible to see through it. Her clothes fell off, and Murong Qingqing's tall and perfect body was exposed. Her black hair was like a waterfall, covering her full breasts. Her slender and smooth waist was so slim that it could be held in one hand, and when it reached the bottom, it rapidly expanded. Her snow-white and delicate skin could almost drive any man or woman crazy. Her legs were straight and took up 2/3 of her body, and they were tightly closed together. After changing into a clean purple dress, she walked out of the stone room. In her sight, Yichan was still refining the psionic energy. His eyes were closed, and his back was straight like a sharp sword. His shoulders were wide, and his waist was slim. 3 years. I only have 3 years left of the time my family gave me. Biting her lower lip, Murong Qingqing's eyes flashed with a complicated look. Phew! A slightly dark red aura was spat out, piercing through the mountain rock in front of him. Yichan slowly opened his eyes, turned his head, and made eye contact with Murong Qingqing. There was a moment of hesitation and warmth between the two of them. Shaking off the non-existent dust on his body, Yichan stood up and said, "We didn't wait long, right?" "No." Murong Qingqing shook her head. "Then let's go out." Yichan suddenly pulled out the long sword at his waist, and with one slash, he broke the mountain. The mountain was split open, and the light of the dimensional battlefield shone in, covering the two of them. On the 7th day of the dimensional battlefield's opening, the outside world finally became restless. Crack! The space shattered, and a middle-aged man in a dark red robe did not say anything. He waved his hand, and the extreme rank axe that was in the abyss flew out. "It is the leader. The leader is here. The extreme rank axe belongs to him." All of the masters of the Shining Martial School were overjoyed. The extreme rank weapons were 100 times more precious than the top rank ones. Any life and death realm warrior would be able to increase their battling power drastically if they had it. Meanwhile, people from the other rank 5 martial institutions frowned, feeling anxious. Hee. Shining King, what are you worrying about? The extreme rank axe is not something you can have. A sky-covering huge hand appeared out of nowhere, covering the axe. The Shining King was furious. "Beast King, how dare you?" As he spoke, he waved his arm, and a misty light cut off 3 fingers of the huge hand, pulling the axe out from the gap. Huh, why would I not dare? The powerful Beast King tore open the surreal space as a godly light shot out from his eyes, shattering the light with one punch. At the same time, the hill-sized extreme rank axe lost its control and stabbed into the ground, shaking the whole place. The shockwave spread out in all directions. "It is our leader. Our leader is here as well." Huh. This time, it was the Beast School's turn to be excited. "You." The Shining King also shot out a godly light from his eyes as he stared at the Beast King. The two's eyes were not normal at all. All that could be seen was the sound of thunder exploding in the clear sky. The sky suddenly darkened, and the bright light was like a star exploding. Everyone felt like they had arrived in the starry sky, and could not see anything at all. There was only light and 2 godlike king warriors. This is so scary. Is it the ground under my feet? How come I cannot feel the gravity and the density of the earth? All of the warriors with cultivation lower than the Sea of Souls realm felt their legs shaking. They looked down, but they could not see the ground at all. It was pitch black and unfathomable. One of the master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors mumbled to himself, "The battle between the king warriors has already surpassed the normal battles. It is their wills that are messing with our judgment. Do not try to break through their wills. Otherwise, the attacking power will be enough to kill you." The Shining King's eyes were filled with anger that could burn through the earth. "Beast King, do you really want to compete with me? Don't forget that I was here first." "So what if you were here first? The extreme rank great weapon is hard to come by. I, the Beast King, will not let it go." The Beast King and the Shining King's bodies were both covered in the light, making it hard to see their faces clearly. Even their words carried a powerful willpower that could make any Sea of Souls realm warrior lose their mind. Boom! Just as the two were confronting each other, a wave of thunder descended from the pitch-black sky. The thunder did not disappear, shattering part of the light. A city-sized palm reached down at extreme speed. The patterns on the palm were clear, and the nails were like blades, filled with sharp electric arcs. Black Thunder King, the Shining King, and the Beast King attacked at the same time, shattering the huge hand. Pow! A blurry human figure landed on the ground, and a voice was heard, "Shining King, Beast King, this extreme rank weapon belongs to me, the Black Thunder King. It is the closest to our Thunder City. It is the king of our Thunder Empire." All of the powerful warriors in the Thunder City were extremely excited. The Black Thunder King was indeed the blood uncle of the current emperor of the Thunder Empire, who was also one of Jing Aoshuan's great-grandfathers. It was because of him that the Thunder Empire could dominate the Thunder region, becoming the #1 country and the #1 power. The Shining King sneered, "Do not talk to me about being the closest to the Thunder City. As long as it is in the Thunder region, I, the Shining King, will have the right to have a share." The Shining King has said what I said. Although the Beast King was afraid of the Black Thunder King, he was not afraid of him. Plus, it was a three-way battle, and none of them had the power to fight against two at the same time. Some of the warriors who had arrived on the 7th day, because of something else, were shocked. 3 king warriors. 3 king warriors had appeared at the same time. What kind of joke was this? Also, the battle of their wills was way too horrifying. They were hundreds of miles away from the battle site, but they were still covered by the darkness. Looking back, they could not see anything, only darkness. Even their mind power and soul power could not penetrate through the darkness, which made them very nervous. Chapter 479. You must be joking. The Thunder region is so huge. If you want a share of everything that lands in here, then no one would be able to get anything. If you have a solution, then I would love to hear it. The Black Thunder King did not try to pressure the two, so he threw the problem to the Shining King and the Beast King. The Shining King said, "This axe is mine, and I can compensate you with other things." Huh? The Black Thunder King sneered and said to the Beast King, "Beast King, do you agree?" "Of course not. I know that you have a lot of good things, but I do not want them. On the other hand, I can compensate for your loss. I will take the axe." The Beast King liked heavy weapons the most, and the axe would be perfect for him. So, there was no way he would agree with the Shining King's solution. The Shining King said angrily, "Then what do you think we should do?" The Black Thunder King said, "Beast King, you have trained the Earth element Jin Yuan. I have 2 Earth Yuan crystals that I got from the Sealed Dust Star. They should be enough to increase your cultivation by 40 years. 40 years of cultivation is not a small amount. Right now, your cultivation should be no more than 300 years, right?" "What? You have 2 Earth Yuan crystals?" The Beast King was shocked. The cultivation of a life and death realm warrior would start from the life and death realm. Normally, when one had just reached the life and death realm, their cultivation would not be more than 100 years. Even Xianhou had only had 80 to 90 years of cultivation. When the Beast King reached the life and death realm, his cultivation was even lower, only 30 years. He had trained for 220 years, and had also found some treasures that could increase his cultivation. So, he only had about 290 years of cultivation. Therefore, 40 years of cultivation was indeed not a small amount. It would be enough for his battling power to increase a lot. Although it would not be as powerful as the extreme rank axe, if he tried to fight for it, he would not have more than 30% chance of getting it. What do you think? The Black Thunder King was confident. The Beast King laughed. "Black Thunder King, it would be useless to take care of me. Even if I quit, there is still the Shining King for you to take care of." The Black Thunder King shook his head. "You do not need to worry about this. As long as you promise not to get involved, these 2 Earth Yuan crystals will be yours. I was planning to exchange them with the other kings anyway. There are a few king warriors who train the Earth element in this true spirit continent. The Beast King took a deep breath and laughed. All right, I promise you. The axe belongs to you too. I won't participate. Great. Here you go. The Black Thunder King waved his hand and threw out 2 crystal stones that were shining with a muddy yellow halo. Reaching out to catch the Earth Yuan crystal, the Beast King examined it carefully. It was indeed an Earth Yuan crystal. He grinned and said, "Aren't you afraid that I will go back on my word? I believe you would not do that. Plus, I, the Black Thunder King, am not that easy to fool." Hatred rarely appeared between king warriors, and once it did, it would be a fight to the death. Therefore, the Black Thunder King did not think that the Beast King was ready to fight to the death with him. Hee, you have won. How could I, the Beast King, go back on my word? The Beast King glanced at the axe with pity, then waved his hand. All of the people from the Imperial Beast Martial School were covered in a yellow halo, backing out hundreds of miles with him. Meanwhile, he himself sat in the midair, not planning to leave yet. The Black Thunder King did not care about the Beast King's attitude. He turned his head and looked at the Shining King. "Shining King, why don't you back off now?" "Black Thunder King, don't push it." The Shining King froze for a second, then became enraged. The Black Thunder King had sent away the Beast King, but did not plan to compensate him. Although he had already prepared himself to not accept the compensation, he could not accept the Black Thunder King's attitude of ignoring him. A king warrior's dignity could not be challenged, even if the other party was also a king warrior. Damn, this Black Thunder King is so evil. Luckily, he chose me first. The Beast King made a face. The Black Thunder King's power was way more powerful than any of them. Without him, the Shining King would obviously not be his opponent, and without the Shining King, he would not be his opponent either. If the Black Thunder King had chosen the Shining King first, then he would not be able to get any compensation, nor would he be able to get the axe. The people from the Shining Martial School were also feeling humiliated. However, the king warrior's dignity was not something they could judge, so no one dared to show their anger. The Black Thunder King sneered, "I have pushed it too far. Last time, you and the Blue King had tricked me, and I have not gotten even with you yet. Today, I will take care of both the old and the new. The thing that I want, you will not be able to stop it." The Shining King did not say another word as his body turned into a beam of light, shooting toward the axe. Both of his eyes shot out beams of thunder. The Black Thunder King threw out a palm attack, breaking the beam of light and knocking the axe into the air. He then reached out his left hand, trying to grab it. Shoo! The beam of light flashed again as the Shining King's hand attack shattered the Jin Yuan and will of the Black Thunder King on the axe. The two continued to fight around the axe. The surreal space was like a broken mirror, cracking and making a loud noise. Extreme Emperor Shocking Fist Art. Up in the sky, the Black Thunder King's roar was like a world-destroying thunder. He performed an attack that Jing Aoshuan had used before. However, when it landed in the hands of the Black Thunder King, its power had increased by hundreds or even thousands of times. The surreal space had been pierced through, causing space fragments to tumble everywhere. Just a low-rank, profound martial art. Break. Light of the Shining King. The Shining King's body was like a small red sun, exploding with an endless light. The light immediately destroyed the fist power of the Black Thunder King and covered him within. Hee, stupid. The Extreme Emperor Shocking Fist Art is only used to exhaust your ace attack. 5 Thunderprint. The Black Thunder King reached out his left hand that was behind his back. He opened his 5 fingers, each of them shooting out a dark blue light print. Wherever the light print reached, the light disappeared. You are the stupid one. My Light of the Shining King does not only have martial power, but also speed. The Extreme Rank Axe is mine now. The Shining King traveled through the light that had not disappeared yet. His speed was extremely fast, as if he was the light, and the light was him. If I say that you are stupid, then you are. 5 Thunderprint. Seal. Pap. In front of the Shining King, the 5 light prints suddenly stopped, forming a sealed area filled with thunder and lightning, blocking his way out. Anger flashed through the Shining King's eyes as he waved his hand in the air. A huge black hole appeared in the surreal space, and his whole body jumped in. However, in the deepest part of the surreal space, there were also thunder and lightning. Of course, it was much weaker than the outside world, and could not threaten him at all. Just as he was about to appear in the surreal space near the axe, a huge hand pushed him in again. "Black Thunder King, you bastard! Don't think that you can get it so easily." Swoosh! The light formed into a chain and dragged the axe in. "All right, this time, I will beat you until you are scared." The Black Thunder King stepped out and entered the deepest part of the surreal space. When the two of them disappeared, the world returned to normal. Warm sunlight shone down, and the surroundings were in a mess. There were some places where the Earth's crust had been pierced through, and surging magma continuously splashed out. It was bright red and incomparably hot, and it was a shocking sight. Close. The Beast King landed on the lava, and the brown light around his body suddenly expanded. The cracks on the ground closed up quickly, and the broken crust started to recover at shocking speed. He then said without turning his head, "You guys do what you need to do. I will go check it out." After saying that, he jumped into the deepest part of the surreal space. After the three king warriors had left, the rest of the people looked at each other. So horrifying. This is the battle of the king warriors. It is so destructive that even the Earth's crust has been punctured. None of their attacks landed on the ground. They were all caused by the aftershocks. If they had attacked directly, I wonder what would have happened. What should we do next? Enter the parallel space, of course. There are fewer and fewer king warriors' corpses in the parallel space battlefield. It seems like the area where we came in has the most. Plus, some of the king warriors' corpses don't even have spirit stones in them. The broken corpses were endless. Yichun and Murong Qingsheng were standing on a dark red plateau with a black aura above their heads. Murong Qingchang said, "It is not bad. This parallel space battlefield's environment is special, and even the corpses have been preserved. Otherwise, after hundreds of thousands of years, there would not be anything left." Boom! While the two were talking, the surreal space in front of them was filled with thunder and light. Huh, there are thunder and dazzling light in this parallel space battlefield? Yichun looked surprised. A black light flashed in Murong Qingqing's eyes as she shook her head and said, "No, that surreal space is about to shatter. Someone is fighting. Who could have such a huge battle?" Boom! Just as Yichun finished his sentence, the surreal space twisted and shattered. Two human figures jumped into the parallel space battlefield. One of them was wrapped in endless thunder and lightning, while the other looked like a small dark red sun. Soon, a powerful power covered them, making them lose their sense of the environment. Not good. It is two life and death realm warriors. The two gasped and backed out at the same time. However, no matter how hard they tried, they could not get out of the dark environment. It seemed like they were in a starry sky. Crack! The hill-sized axe followed the two into the parallel space battlefield, stabbing into the ground. Shining King, you are not their opponent. It is not too late to give up now. Otherwise, your yuan qi will be severely damaged, and your cultivation will decrease drastically. The Black Thunder King scanned around and was slightly surprised. It was a parallel space battlefield, which was extremely hard to find. It must be because of the fact that the parallel space had opened automatically, which was why they were able to come in through the surreal space. Otherwise, they would not be able to do this. Taking a deep breath, the Black Thunder King looked back at the Shining King and said seriously. The Shining King came back to his senses and sneered. "Black Thunder King, who are you trying to scare? This time, even if it costs me a lot of my yuan qi, I will take this axe. Don't even think about it. Since you do not want to do it the hard way, then don't blame me for being cruel." 5 Thunderprint. Explode. The Black Thunder King opened both of his fingers, and 10 dark blue light prints shot out, exploding in the air and blowing the Shining King hundreds of miles away. Woo! 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 It was unknown if it was because the battle between the two was too loud, but the black chi in the sky started to become chaotic. It started to converge at a certain point, forming a black funnel that connected the sky and the ground. The funnel continued to spin, shooting out black lightning bolts while the black light inside was almost solid. What's going on? The Black Thunder King stopped fighting and turned his head to look at the black funnel. The Shining King also took back his angry eyes, looking confused. The surreal space had been shattered, and the Beast King walked in. Seeing that the two had stopped fighting, he was curious. Only when he saw the black funnel did he realize what was going on. Crack! Below the dark funnel, the ground suddenly exploded, and a giant hand covered in scales and sharp nails broke out of the ground. This demon claw was way too big. It was more than 100 meters tall, and every finger was like a jade pillar that supported the sky, surrounded by black arcs of light. Chapter 480. The moment the demonic claw stretched out, a terrifying and evil aura that could destroy one's soul spread out. The corpses and bones in the surroundings exploded into powder. The mountain couldn't withstand the pressure of the aura and turned into ashes, dispersing all of a sudden. This chi was so powerful that it seemed to be boundless. What? The chi of an ancient demon king. The Black Demon King was shocked. As a life and death realm warrior, he needed to know about the demons that were even more powerful than the humans in the ancient times. This demon claw was not a beast claw, but a demon's claw, which was a branch of the demons. They were known for their huge bodies, and, correspondingly, the demon power inside their bodies was also proportional to their body size. At their peak, any ancient demon king's demon power would be hundreds or even thousands of times more than life and death realm warriors of the same level. Although the ancient demon kings did not train martial arts, could not understand the profound, and did not have a powerful willpower, and could only fight with their bodies and demon power in a one-on-one battle or even 10-on-1 battle, the one who would die would be the human, not the ancient demon king. If it were not for the fact that there were too many humans and demons, the ones who would lose in the ancient times would not be the demons, but the humans. What is this? Hundreds of miles away, Yi Chun could clearly see the 100-meter-tall demon claw and feel the horrifying chi coming from it. He suspected that if he did not have the master-level sword intent, his soul would be destroyed immediately. Murong Qingsheng took a deep breath and said with a serious tone, "It is an ancient demon, a branch of the demons. I did not expect it to be sealed in the parallel space battlefield for hundreds of thousands of years." Ancient demon? Didn't they say that life and death realm warriors could only live for 1,000 years? No matter how long the demons could live, they should not be able to live for hundreds of thousands of years, right? Yi Chun was confused. Demons live 10 times longer than humans, so the demon kings can live for 10,000 years. But the ancient demon kings with low intelligence can live even longer than the ancient demon kings. Some can live for 30,000 years, and some can live for 50,000 years. Normally, after hundreds of thousands of years, any ancient demon king would die of old age. But the sealing power has weakened the effect of time. So hundreds of thousands of years might only be tens of thousands of years for this ancient demon king. Murong Qingsheng knew demons very well, so she explained everything to him. A look of shock appeared on Yi Chen's face, but after thinking about it, he realized that something was wrong. So he continued, "The power of sealing can weaken the power of time. Doesn't that mean that human kings can seal themselves and live for thousands of years?" Murong Qingsheng shook her head. Besides weakening the power of time, the sealing power will also weaken the target's cultivation. If a human king is sealed for thousands of years, no, just a few hundred years, their cultivation will definitely weaken until they die. Only a demon king can survive, because a demon king's demonic power is hundreds or even thousands of times more than a human king's. In ancient times, the final victory of the human race was due to their control of the sealing power. I see. It was Yi Chen's first time learning high-level information about demons. We are in trouble. There is an ancient demon king sealed here, and after hundreds of thousands of years, the seal should have been loosened a long time ago. The Beast King forced a laugh, then suddenly thought of something. Could it be that he threw out that extreme rank axe on purpose to attract the life and death realm warriors? The shockwaves from the battle between life and death realm warriors would weaken the power of the seal, which would allow him to get out more easily without using up a lot of demonic power. In his sight, one of the Demon King's arms had already reached out, which was thousands of meters long. The Black Thunder King said with a low voice, "The loosening of the seal power allowed the Demon King's demonic power to tear open the space through the crack of the seal and throw out an extreme rank weapon. Then, he created a space door and attracted a lot of people in. That black chi had swallowed a lot of people's blood and flesh essence, which replenished the Demon King's body and helped him regain some of his vitality." The Beast King said strangely, "Are the demons this smart? Although the demons have low intelligence, it does not mean that they do not have it. This kind of attack is very normal. Unfortunately, we did not know that there was an ancient Demon King sealed here. Let's cut the crap and start the battle. This Demon King has been tortured by the seal power for hundreds of thousands of years, so its demonic power must have been damaged. We cannot let him out no matter what. Otherwise, once he swallows enough blood and flesh essence, his demonic power will recover completely." The Black Thunder King did not care about the axe anymore, as he suggested. "Yeah, the demons are different from humans. They can recover by swallowing the blood and flesh essence of living beings." "Shining King, now is not the time to be angry. You know the rules of the human race." The Beast King glanced at the Shining King. The Shining King said with a cold voice, "I do not need your reminder. I know what to do." Boom, boom, boom. The three of them were all life and death realm warriors, and their combined attacks had shattered the space around them, landing on the Demon King's arm. All of a sudden, that thousands of meters long arm started to shake. Pieces of flesh disappeared one after another, as if it had been bitten by a giant. Roar! The ground cracked open, and the roar of the ancient Demon King came out of the ground. One could see with naked eyes that the flesh on the broken arm started to move and recover quickly. In the next second, the wounded area was as good as new. However, the chi of the ancient Demon King had weakened a bit, which meant that his yuan chi had been damaged. 5 Thunderprint. Explode. The Black Thunder King's attack was the most powerful. His two hands shot out 10 dark blue light prints, exploding on the shoulder of the ancient Demon King, bringing up a lot of dust. The Shining King did not want to be outdone either, as he continued to attack the ancient Demon King's arm with a shining light. A sizzling sound could be heard without an end. The Beast King's attacks were extremely powerful as he continued to attack the ancient Demon King's arm. Even the bones there had been broken. Dong! All of a sudden, the head of the ancient Demon King popped out of the ground. The skull that was covered in bone pieces locked onto the Black Thunder King, who was the most powerful of them all. It then shot out a beam of black light wave, which was way too fast and too sudden. Even the Black Thunder King did not manage to dodge it in time and was scratched by it. Half of his body was covered in blood, and his bones were all over the place. The Black Thunder King gasped as he cursed with a low voice. "Damn it. This one attack has cost me at least half a year of cultivation." Once one reached the life and death realm, their Zhen Yuan and flesh would merge into one. Therefore, it would take a lot of Zhen Yuan to recover. The more serious the injury, the more Zhen Yuan it would take. And the life and death realm warrior's Zhen Yuan cultivation was way too horrifying, so it would take a long time to recover. Half a year of cultivation would take the Black Thunder King a week to recover. Of course, if he had some rare treasures, it would be different. While they were talking, the wound on the Black Thunder King's body started to heal quickly. There was not a single flaw on his body, as if he had never been wounded before. What a horrifying healing power! Whether it was the ancient Demon King or the Black Thunder King, their healing power was unbelievably powerful. If it were Yi Chun with this kind of injury, he would have been on the verge of death already, unless he could train his undying body to the first level. In that case, perhaps he would feel better. Demon, eat my hammer! The Beast King's hammer weapon was a semi-extreme rank 1. The hammer light spun around before landing on the ancient Demon King's head. Chin! Sparks flew everywhere as the ancient Demon King broke off one of his horns. The burning sparks had even burned through the ground. The lower part of the ancient Demon King's body could be seen clearly, as well as the 6-star sealing spell that had wrapped around his body. A gap had appeared on the spell, and the ancient Demon King had indeed climbed out from it.